Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. People in Hokage, get married Kushina, my son is Naruto. Chapter 41. Under the lead of Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, Yefeng and the others soon came to a cave. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said very respectfully, Lord Senju Yefeng, we have searched so much. He heard Yifeng's conversation along the way, only to learn Yifeng's identity, and he was very surprised. The name for Night Maple has also changed completely. The Senju clan, that is the legend of the ninja world. As the last bloodline inheritance, Yefeng is absolutely worthy of respect. How many times have I said that I am not surnamed Senju? Nimas, no one has the surname Senju now, the second generation still has the surname Senju, and by the third generation, even Tsunade and Rope Tree are not surnamed Senju. With the disappearance of the Thousand Hands family, the family policy is to the Thousand Hands and integrate into the Konoha collective. This is the way the Thousand Hands clan prevents Mushu from being in the forest, but unfortunately it still can't escape the Black Hand. Yes, Lord Yifeng, if you look at the thick fog of this cave, it is obviously the water escape, mist concealment technique, and it is very likely that Terame is inside. Yefeng nodded and said, well, find Jiaomei, and you can go. Quote, thank you, Lord Yi Kaide. Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and Loquat Juzo walked in the front, and Yefeng asked curiously, this mist concealment technique, don't you have a way to crack it? Quote, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said embarrassedly, Lord Yefeng, it is very simple to crack the mist concealment technique, as long as you use wind escape or fire concealment, but we ninjas in Mist Hidden Village generally do not practice wind and fire concealment. Quote, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost thought to himself, the wind and fire have already hung up. Makoto Uchiha immediately stood up and said, I'll come, I'll be on fire. Quote, everyone get out of the way. Kadu Koka cue trouble. Uchiha Makoto froze and was about to blow into the mouth of the cave, when suddenly the kunai in the cave shot out. Be careful, Yi Kaide quickly pulled Makoto to her side, and the roots of the tree that emerged behind her blocked Ku-Wu. Makoto said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, my ninjutsu is too slow. Quote, it's okay, you guys go first. Yefeng glanced at Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and said. Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost glanced at each other and went in depressed. The two most elite Shengnin of Wuyin Village went in, and naturally quickly found Terame, as well as her guard Cheng. The two were caught directly. The huge Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost directly grabbed Terame, laughed and said, Lord Yefeng, caught her. Quote, Terumi was wearing a luxurious blue dress with a look of horror. What are you going to do? Yi Kaide is definitely not an ordinary ninja, I am afraid that it is a large family in the Mist Hidden Village, but he was forced to flee because of the failure of the internal struggle. Just as everyone was relaxing, Terumi blew a breath into the face of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost who grabbed him. Boiling, the art of clever mist. With a thick acidic high-heat mist, it comes directly to the face. Ah, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost screamed bitterly, you are looking for death. Quote, just when the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost was about to slash Jiaomei to death, Yefeng suddenly struck. I saw that Yifeng's hand was wrapped in thunderlight, and 1,000 birds screamed, illuminating everyone's faces pale. Kakashi's eyes are about to pop out. This is his self-created Thunder 1,000 Birds. When did teacher Yi Kaide learn it? Is the teacher a genius? How many times did you read it? And it looks so much more perfect than mine. For a moment, Yokade's image and Kakashi's heart became tall. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost saw Yifeng's hand and was immediately shocked. Lord Yi Kaide. Before the words were finished, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost's eyes widened, and he felt that he was flying, and when he looked carefully, his headless body and neck were spraying blood. Ah, it's so bloody. Makoto Uchiha, Rin, Kai's third class, and the 3 students who had just woken up, screamed one after another. They had never seen anything so bloody. Even on this mission, no one was killed. The 3 students who had just woken up fainted again. Kai, they couldn't help but vomit too. Kakashi and Obito swallowed, a little sick, but they were getting used to it. The nearest Jiaomei was directly frightened and stupid, and was directly taken away by Yifeng. Uchiha Makoto was surprised to see Kakashi and Obito so calm. Looking closely, Obito actually opened the Sharingan. Just now, along the way, she only paid attention to Yefeng and ignored Obito, only to find out that Obito was a member of the Uchiha clan. A genius who opened the eye of the writing wheel. How could she not be impressed? Uchiha Makoto was about to ask Obito when she heard Yokade say, "Kakashi, Obito, Rin, the rest of the person, leave it to you." Quote. What? Tell such a young student to kill Shinobu. Quote. Uchiha Makoto turned her head and saw that the loquat Juzo was once again wrapped in rice dumplings. Loquat Juzo shouted in horror, "Yi Kaide! You are a member of the Thousand Hands clan, why are you so untrustworthy?" Quote. The green next to him was dumbfounded, "What's going on? Does black eat black?" Yokade touched Terumi's head, shrugged his shoulders and said, "I said I wouldn't kill you, that is, I won't kill you, Kakashi, Obito, Rin, Kami." Quote. Yes, teacher. Rin snorted and stood up with a pale face. The bloody scene just now was a little disgusting, but she couldn't lose to Kakashi and Obito. Ha! Lin Zhao screamed and threw out countless kunai and shurikens. Bang bang bang. Loquat Juzo screamed miserably, and his face was all filled with kunai and shuriken. Yes, Lena, Obito said in surprise, but was kicked in the ass by Yifeng. You're on, so much nonsense. At this time, Kakashi began to seal the seal, and then his left hand held his right hand, and the palm of his right hand burst out with brilliant thunder light. Uchiha Makoto looked at Kakashi's thunder for 1,000 years, slightly surprised. Is this the trick that Yokade passed to Kakashi? What a scary chakra. Loquat Juzo's face was full of shuriken and kunai. His eyes widened, he wanted to struggle, but he couldn't struggle, and was desperately helped by the root vines. Don't come here, be careful I kill you. Before the words fell, Kakashi rushed forward with the afterimage. Swish. Blood splatter. Kakashi's figure turned into a Loquat Juzo. Loquat Juzo's face was full of horror, and his waist was broken. Well, the main thing is that Kakashi is still small, the height is not enough, it should have been inserted, but it turned out to be a stomach insertion. Ah! Then, Obito roared, holding Ku-Wu in both hands, jumped up high, and stabbed at the heart of Loquat Juzo. Loquat Shizang's face was unwilling, and there was no breath. Uchiha Makoto and Haruno Jiao were stunned. The 7th class of the Night Maple Belt did not look like a newcomer class at all, it was too calm. Even their Naka shinobi are not so calm, right? Yefeng smiled and said while touching Terumi's head, "Well done." Quote. Terumi frowned and looked at Yi Kaide. Yefeng said, "Don't spray me, be careful if I bind you." Quote. Jaomei's little loli suddenly shivered, and said in a milky voice, "What are you?" Quote. Of course it's the one who saved you, we are from Konoha village. Ao stood up and said, "You are Konoha ninjas. Why arrest us?" Quote. Go back and ask Hokage. Yefeng smiled and took them directly away. Along the way, Uchiha Makoto was very surprised that Kakashi turned out to be the son of White Fang, no wonder he was so strong. And a genius ninja like Obito was actually buried, and the family didn't know anything. Bring the soil, after you go back, I will take you to meet the head of the family. Obito nodded and said, "Well, Sister Makoto." Quote, Obito is now very excited, he has been appreciated, and he has to meet the owner. He has finally become a powerful character, no longer the unknown self he used to be. Obito looked at Yifeng, and was very grateful to Yifeng. Although teacher Yefeng is very barbaric, such barbarism is what he opens the chakra eye on. Along the way, everyone talked and laughed and returned to the kilometer bridge. At this time, the bridge has no fog, and you can see the opposite side at a glance. After crossing this bridge, it is the land of fire. We're finally back. Let's go. Everyone showed a look of joy and breathed a sigh of relief. Along the way, I encountered many difficulties and accidents, and finally returned safely. Just as everyone reached the middle of the bridge, Yefeng stopped, and everyone looked at him strangely. Makoto Uchiha asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Quote. Haruno Jiao also looked around warily. "Lord Yefeng, is there an enemy?" Quote. In Yifeng's mind, the system suddenly appeared again. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1. Greedy for life and fear of death, abandon everyone, run away alone, reward, secret art, earth grudge. Option 2. Run away with important people Terumi, abandon other unimportant people, reward, Blood Succession Limit, Sharingan. Option 3. Learn the spirit of the second generation Hokage, leave the break, save Konoha's future, reward, S-class copy, second generation will of fire defense battle. 3 generations of water shadows. Where are the people? Yefeng looked around, and suddenly, the bridge shook violently. A terrifying sound suddenly erupted on the sea under the bridge, and countless water columns rose up into the sky. Shui dun. Ah! Except for Yifeng, everyone else leaned down, and some even lay down directly. Everyone looked terrified. The 3 children in the other classes who woke up after fainting for the second time were all bare children who were less than 10 years old, and they were directly scared and crying. Obito wanted to cry. Rin and Terumi gripped Yokade's pants tightly. Even Makoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno shivered. Yifeng looked up and saw that at the top of the bridge, there was a person standing. He has long hair, a water shadow cloak, and closed eyes. This is the 3 generations of water shadows. The secret technique, Earth Grievance, and the Sharingan are very attractive, but Yefeng can't do such a rat thing as running away. Seeing that the bridge was about to be broken by the sea, Yefeng immediately began to form handprints. Mu Dun, Tree Binding Eternal Burial. Originally, Mudden Shoe Binding Eternal Burial used vine-like saplings to entangle opponents, and then grew into large trees, completely crushing opponents under the tree. But now the night maple is used on the bridge, and the big trees that grow up wrap around the entire bridge, making the bridge become stable. As Mimi, Rin and Uchiha Makoto saw that large trees grew out of the wood of the bridge, and their eyes were sparkling. Yefeng is so handsome. The teacher is so handsome. This little brother is so handsome. The others also suddenly calmed down in their hearts and felt very safe. The 3 generations of water shadows who were high above looked at Yifeng, and they were also slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, in an environment without soil, such a terrifying Mu-Dun ninjutsu can be used. Is it really the first generation reincarnated? When the 3 generations of water shadow were in the first 5 shadows talks, they were the guards of a generation of water shadows, and standing behind a generation of water shadows were also old people from the era of the first 5 shadows. He looked at the current Yifeng, and the original figure that appeared in his mind gradually overlapped with Yifeng. Thinking of this, the 3rd generation of Shui Ying felt a little uneasy in his heart, but he thought of Ju, and the old man, and his heart was a little calmer. As long as this person remains, when the time comes, Konoha village will inevitably be in civil strife. Yifeng also saw the absolute that suddenly appeared next to the 3 generations of water shadows, or the absolute combination of black and white. Sure enough, it was Uchiha's conspiracy. You guys go, I'll break the back. Yefeng said lightly. Uchiha Makoto hurriedly said, Yukade-kun, you take Shinobu with you. Quote. Haruno Jiao also said, Lord Yefeng, you are the most important person, after we come to the break, you go. Quote. As he spoke, the huge water column that surged up turned into one water dragon after another, rushing towards Yifeng's side. Water Dragon Bullet. This is a plural version of the Water Dragon Bullet. Under the use of 3 generations of Water Shadow, the momentum is huge and very terrifying. Haruno Jiao, who just said that he was going to break off, was directly frightened and stupid. Bang! With a loud noise, Yifeng's hands were sealed, and in front of everyone, a wooden ingot wall appeared, blocking the attack of the water dragon, and the entire bridge shook together. The sea water splashed everyone's clothes. After you break off, you will sacrifice in vain. There is no need at all, you go quickly, I'll be fine. I'm afraid I'll hurt you if I do my best. Let's go. Saying that, Yifeng used the shadow doppelganger technique and ran away with everyone with the doppelganger. Yifeng, you must come back safely. Uchiha Makoto gritted her teeth and ran away with Yokade's doppelganger. The 3rd generation of Mizukage smiled and said, Oh, none of you want to run. Quote. Yifeng's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of the 3 generations of water shadows. Your opponent is me. Quote. As soon as the words fell, the 3 generations of water shadows had already flown out upside down. On the other side of the bridge, countless white absolutes suddenly appeared, and everyone showed a terrified look. Not only on this side of the mainland, but also on the other side of the bridge, dense white absolutes appeared, thousands of them. Surrounded everyone. Everyone was scared silly. Yifeng's heart also had a sense of foreboding. How many Baiju were here? Let's go. The Night Maple Doppelganger is directly sealed. Mu Dun, Wood Dragon Art. Mu Dun Tree Binding Eternal Burial. Countless wooden dragons instantly trapped Baiju, who blocked the bridge. At the same time, the tree was tied to eternal burial, pressing those white absolutes under the tree, opening up a way for everyone to escape. You guys go. Leave it to me. Quote, Yefeng said quietly. Teacher, you come with us. Quote, Lin watched the endless white come out and was about to cry. The eyes with soil also went into the sand. Even Kakashi said, Sensei, let's go together, we can escape. Quote, Terame's little loli also pulled Yifeng's clothes and looked at Yifeng. When Makoto Uchiha was about to speak, she was interrupted by Yokade. Makoto, Haruno Jiao, they'll be handed over to you. After Yifeng's doppelganger finished speaking, his hands were frantically sealed. Mu Dun, Flower Tree Realm has arrived. With Yifeng's order, the ground standing the bridge instantly cracked. With a loud bang, the entire ground shook and collapsed instantly. The big trees that rose under the ground directly overturned the bridge. Rumble. Half of the steel bridge was instantly plunged into the sea. It was just a few seconds, the cliff split, the bridge broke, and the terrain was changed in one fell swoop. Baiju on the bridge fell into the sea one after another, and Baiju at the other end of the bridge could only watch the cliff side on the opposite side, becoming a forest world of trees and huge flowers. Konoha, Whirlpool Courtyard. 4-elephant seal. Ju Shinai cast a 4-elephant seal on a pink pig, and a circle of marks appeared on the belly of the pink pig, emitting light. It worked. Grandma Mito. Quote, Uzumaki Mito nodded and said, well, it's good. Next, you have to unseal the 4 elephants of the big dolphin and try it again. Quote, this big pink pig is a domesticated psychic beast of the Vortex clan, specially used by newcomers of the Vortex clan to practice sealing. The skin is thick and not easily injured. This large dolphin, and a son called Guinea Dolphin, has been following Tsunade and Shizune. Big Porpoise, let's come again. Ju Shinai was very excited. She finally learned the 4-elephant seal, and soon, she would be able to learn all of the Vortex clan's sealing technique. At least in terms of sealing technique, it was stronger than Yifeng. Moreover, Grandma Mito said that if you learn the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you can get married. Thinking of this, Ju Shinai's smiling face appeared in her heart. When you come back from this mission, you can prepare for marriage. Yifeng, be safe, come back quickly. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi was working on these documents. Lord Hokage, something has happened over there in Mist Hidden Village. A dark shinobi appeared in front of Sarutobi Hibi. Big deal. Orochimaru, who was sitting next to him, looked at this Kaminobu curiously. Ape Fei frowned slightly and said, what's wrong? Quote, Jiraiya-sama was not able to intercept the Ninja Knife 7 in Mist Hidden Village, and the Ninja Knife 7 went to the west. West. Ape Fei groaned, looked at the map, and his eyes suddenly widened. Didn't you stop the Ninja Dao 7? Ape Fei chopper was suddenly furious, and the momentum that burst out made the dark part tremble. Orochimaru listened curiously next to him. Yes, Naruto-sama, Jiraiya-sama has been struck by the sound. It's over. The 7 people of the Ninja Knife, the strongest elite upper ninja directly under the water shadow of the misty hidden village, the 7-person combination, can destroy an effect overnight. The direction they are heading to is the mountain forest where Terumi may be hidden, and the destination of Night Maple is also there. If it happens, if something happens to Yifeng, something big will happen in Konoha village. But now I'm afraid it's too late. The big snake pill next to him said. Zilai also knows that he has been deceived, so there is no remedy. Quote, Lord Zilaya said that he has sent the fastest wave feng shui to the gate to endure. The big snake pill next to him squinted his eyes and said, it's too easy to be deceived. Quote, the Shadow Department Shinobu hurriedly said, it's the intelligence department that is wrong. Quote, who handled the intelligence? It's the intelligence handled by Ryosuke Mito and Shinto Shudo. Sarutobi Hinata's eyes widened, and he was immediately furious. Ryosuke Mito and Shun Madu. What do they want to do? Quote, Menyon, Kaharu, are you still guarding the will of fire like this? Knowing how important it is to Konoha's significance to the inheritance of the first generation, do you still want to do this? Ape Fei Richo took a deep breath, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Even if Yefeng and Bofeng Shuamin can be 2 people to fight the 7 people of the Ninja Dao, I am afraid that everyone else will suffer heavy casualties. For the sake of their own personal vendetta, the Mito clan and the Dormitory clan actually attacked Yokade without any warning, which was completely ignoring his Hokage. Pass it on to me. Knock knock. Before Sarutobi could finish speaking, Mito Menyon and Shun Kaharu came with 2 young juniors. It was their children Mito Ryosuke and Shun Mato. Naruto-sama. Naruto-sama. Sarutobi Richo's eyes were extremely cold, and he looked at the big snake pill and said, "You guard at the door, Menyon, Kaharu, you sit, and the others go out." Quote. Yes, teacher. Orochimaru walked out with the others with a smile on his face. In the Hokage office, at this time, there were only 3 people, Sarutobi Hinata, Mito Monita and Kaharu. The atmosphere is full of a kind of oppression, and the mountain rain is about to come. Ape Fei looked at his 2 old classmates quietly, and did not speak. The atmosphere is dignified. Mito Menyon couldn't help but say, "Sarutobi, these are all mistakes, not intentional by us." Quote. Yes, Ape Fei, don't be angry. The origin of the night maple is full of mysteries, whether it is a hidden bomb or not, no one knows. Everything we do, not for us, but for Konoha. It's also a knock on him, don't make him feel like he can do whatever he wants in Konoha. Ape Flying Sun Chopper is clear. This time, Tuan Zhang returned and robbed the 2 tails and the 6 artifacts of Union Village, mainly the credit of the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito and Zhuanxi. In addition, there is an alliance agreement with Hanzo, a demigod of Union Village. There are also the resources that the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito and Shunyu have mastered over the years, the families behind them, and so on. Now they just want to show Sarutobi whether it is Yokade that is important, or whether their 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Shunyi are important. Their 2 major families are not something they can mess with casually. Moreover, they didn't do things to the end, they just messed up Yifeng's first mission and gave Yifeng's warning. Mito Menyon and Sleeping Kaharu had completely made their posture clear, and even faintly told him that if he wanted to blame them, not only them, but also other families would kill him and leave him. Ape Flying Sun was silent. The corners of Mito's and Kaharu's mouths raised wistfully. Ape Flying, Yefeng will be fine, and it is more important for us to welcome the return of Tuan Zhang. This time the trouble of Tuan Zhang's return, you still need Ape Fei to make a move. Sarutobi looked coldly at Mito Menyon and Shui Xiaochun, and at this moment, the big snake pill outside the door suddenly said, "Teacher, the Wave Wind Water Gate is back." Quote. Let him in. The door opened, and when Wave Feng Mizuman saw Mito Monita and Kaharu, he was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Naruto-sama." Quote. It's safe to come back, Yefeng Shangnan. Bofeng Shuamin half knelt down and said, I came back first, and Yefeng Shangnan is still in the land of water. Quote. What's going on? Report Naruto-sama. Because of the casualties, I sent the wounded back first, and Yokade Kami Shinobi is still on duty. Mito Menyon and Kaharu next to him suddenly smiled. I heard that Yefeng did his best for the 7th class he coached, and this time there were heavy casualties. Ape Fei Chop frowned and said, there are casualties, and you still have to carry out a mission. Quote. Watergate said respectfully. Yes, Yefeng Shang Shinobu has already solved the Ninja Sword 7, and one of us on Konoha's side has been injured. Quote. What? As soon as Watergate's words came out, the whole body was silent. Everyone's expressions were stunned. The 7 people of the ninja knife are gone, and we Konoha only injured 1 shinobi. It sounds like it was killed by Night Maple Pine. Watergate, let's talk about what's going on. Yes, Naruto-sama. So, Watergate told what had happened, and by the time he arrived, the battle was over. Everyone looked incredulous. The 7 people of the ninja sword were hung up by Yefeng alone. And the lower ninja Mad Dai opened the 8 doors, and also beat a ninja knife 7. Ape Flying Sun said in a deep voice. Very good, Mad Dai's talent is something we ignored before, when I come back, you take me to see him. Quote. Now Ape Flying Sun Chopper has more important things to do, that is, to stop Lei Ying and let Tuan Zhang return safely. After that, Ape Flying Sun Chopper walked over, followed by the big snake pill. After a while, another dark shinobu hurriedly arrived. What about Naruto-sama? Turning to sleep Shinto stood up and said, Naruto-sama has something to do. What's wrong? Quote. Lord Xuan, something big has happened over there in Wuyin village. What's going on? Lord Jiraiya lost contact, and the 3 generations of water shadow suddenly attacked everyone in Yefeng. When Mito Menyon and Kaharu heard this, they were stunned for a moment, and then the corners of their mouths turned up slightly. They also didn't expect that Yifeng was so unlucky. It turned out that the 3rd generation of water shadow personally made a move, and this time Yifeng was dead. Turning to sleep in a deep voice, when did this happen? Quote. It's half an hour from now. Mito Menyon immediately said. That's a pity, Naruto-sama is not there, the other upper shinobi are also in the mission, now our Konoha's endurance is insufficient, we can only hope that Yokade can escape, so let's go back and rescue Yokade. Quote. When Shadow Shinobu heard Mito Menyon's words, his eyes widened. Don't hurry up yet. Yes, my lord. The Shadow Upper Shinobu is about to curse, such a terrifying battlefield, he took ahead to save Ah. These 2 former advisor elders are really too poisonous. Mito Menyon and Kaharu smiled slightly. Now like this, Yefeng should be helpless. The 3 generations of water shadow personally took action, and there were thousands of Baiju, and they must leave Yifeng. This is very good. Without Yokade, a rebellious fellow, when Danzo returns, then Konoha will be back on its proper track. On the border between the land of water and the land of fire, half of the bridge collapses into the sea, and the sea is turbulent. Countless white absolute pressed towards the night maple in the center of the tree realm. The outermost trees, creaking and then clattering, collapsed. Immediately afterwards, the circle of roots and vines inside was also cut off by the dense white around it. On the other side, after the 3rd generation of Shui Ying also ate a few punches from Yifeng's doppelganger, his face was swollen, and he was no longer as handsome as he was at the beginning. But he finally opened the distance between him and Yifeng's doppelganger, and constantly used water ninjutsu, and the endless stream of seawater continued to turn into multiple water dragons, bombarding towards Yifeng's doppelganger. Bang! Yifeng's doppelganger was directly bombarded into slag. But at the same time, Night Maple once again split into 3. The reason why it is not separated more is because it is divided into 3, and all 3 have the current strength of 1/3. If you divide too much, you will not believe. Yifeng's hands gently closed in front of him, forming a handprint, very mysterious. The huge chakra suddenly surged in the body, and the light in his eyes flickered. Mu done. Wooden man art. Rumble. The ground where Yifeng was standing instantly exploded, and a huge wooden Buddha statue head emerged from the ground. And Yefeng himself stood on top of the wooden Buddha's head. Immediately afterwards, the Buddha statue continued to emerge, standing up to the heavens and the earth, and in the violent tremor of the earth, burrowing out of the earth. I saw a circle of palms behind the Buddha statue densely packed and layered. Not far away, a chakra eye under the mask suddenly turned. This is the doppelganger of Uchiha. He was secretly watching. This time, not only black and white, but also the doppelganger of Uchiha. The body is connected to the outer path golem, and it can barely send a doppelganger out. He came here today to find out the situation of Yifeng. This is immortal Mudden true thousands of hands top. Looking at the huge Buddha statue towering into the clouds, his hands were folded in the middle, countless giant arms were stretched out behind his back, counting white, and the doppelganger of Madara was suddenly stunned. He took 2 steps back and muttered, "Impossible, absolutely impossible, he doesn't have an immortal body, how can he make an immortal magic would escape top transformation?" Quote. No, this is not a top makeover, this is the art of a wooden man. Uchiha was shadowed by the immortal wood done between the thousand hands pillar. Now looking at the wooden man who suddenly appeared, they were all startled. In fact, what Yefeng used was indeed the wooden art that Uchiha finally judged. Instead of immortal Famu Dungeon thousands of hands top. The difference between the two is that immortal Famu Dunan needs to transform into an immortal body. Yifeng's current fusion degree is not enough to transform into an immortal human body, and it must have a 100% fusion degree to transform into an immortal human body. Even so, it startled Uchiha. Could it be that the pillar is like me in suspended animation, but it is actually not dead? Madara's doppelganger squinted and looked at Yifeng. His eyes were about to bleed, but no matter how he looked, Yifeng's could not be between the thousand-hand pillars. It's not a thousand-hands pillar, kill him while he is still young. Uchiha was about to strike, when suddenly, the earth suddenly shook again. Another huge thousand-handed wooden man came out of the land. And standing on top of the wooden man's head was a doppelganger of Yi Feng. But the shaking hasn't stopped yet. The shaking is getting more and more violent. The third huge wooden man with 1,000 hands came out again. 3 towering thousand-handed wooden figures suddenly appeared, shocking everyone present. How is it possible? His chakra is so strong. Quote, Uchiha was really scared. Although it is not Senfamudin, true thousand hands, and top avatar, but the appearance of 3 very similar thousand hands wooden people makes Uchiha a little hesitant to show up. If he didn't show up and kill Yi Feng, he would probably be a little dangerous. Maybe Yi Feng can find his own traces through some clues. Just as Uchiha hesitated, the 3 Senjugi had already struck. The layers of wooden figures stretched out their huge palms and held one after another Baiju. Baiju was absorbed by the thousand hands wooden man, and the intercolumn cells in his body were also sucked away instantly, and he dried up instantly. One after another, it instantly turned into a nutrient solution and dripped on the ground. And the water dragon of the 3 generations of water shadows hit the thousand-hand wooden man in a row. It was like tickling. This situation dispelled the idea of Uchiha's black hand. Night Maple is too strong, and the risk of making a shot is too high, and it is not worth Uchiha to do this. Back then, the young spots were not the opponents of Immortal Mudden True Thousands of Hands and Top, and now the age spots, facing the young Yi Feng, also have no confidence. Unexpectedly, after so many years of silence, there is such a similar person again. It seems that my plan is about to change again. Thinking of this, Madara's figure gradually disappeared. If you don't have a chance, you will slip away, and Madara is not a pedantic person, otherwise the Battle of the End Valley that year would not have suspended his death. As the spots slipped away, the black and white absolute disappeared instantly, and the white absolute that was still drilling out, when he saw that it was not right, quickly retracted. Want to retract? Think beautiful. Quote, Yi Feng was divided into 3, controlling 3,000 hands wooden people, and could absorb thousands of white absolutes in a second, and those white abs that were half drilled were also pulled out like being pulled out of turnips. The chakra that was originally consumed was instantly filled, and the chakra that overflowed instantly rushed to the place of the yin seal on the forehead, making the color of the yin seal even deeper. At the same time, Yi Feng absorbed countless interpillar cells in Baiju's body through the wooden man art, causing the fusion degree of the character card between the 1,000 hand pillars to soar at a speed visible to the naked eye. 75%, 85%, 95%, 99%. It was these white absolutes that instantly provided Night Maple with a fusion degree of more than 20%. If you are 1% short, you will be able to reach the full level. When the fusion degree exceeded 90%, Yi Feng comprehended a new skill, Immortal Mode. At the same time, he also comprehended Immortal Art Myojin Gate. Finally, there is also the strongest Mudden Ninjutsu, Immortal Law Mudden True Thousands of Hands, which should be able to be learned when the full level is 100%. Yi Feng is a little excited. There is still a 1% fusion degree, and it will be in 2 or 3 hours. Water Escape, Water Break. The 3rd generation of Water Shadow saw Yi Feng in a daze, and directly used one of the highest single-killing water-done ninjutsu, violently spraying a straight line of ultra-high pressure water column from his mouth, turning into a sharp water blade, cutting Yi Feng in 2. Swish. This knife directly cut Yi Feng and the 1,000-hand wooden man from head to toe, one knife in 2. Bang. The doppelganger exploded directly, and the 1,000-hand wooden man under his feet also collapsed. Yi Feng looked at the 3 generations of water shadows. Black and white absolute had already left, those cannon fodder and white absolutely all fled. The last enemy, this 3 generations of water shadows left. The 3 generations of water shadow and Yi Feng looked at each other, and suddenly felt a little wrong. Take a closer look, why are they all gone, and they are left alone? Uchiha Madara, you lied to me. Quote, the 3 generations of water shadows roared, turned around and fled. Now in such a situation, he feels very dangerous. May die. Water body. Before the words were finished, the eyes of the 3 generations of Shui Ying widened, and the whole person smashed to the ground. Rumble. A deep pit was smashed, 100 meters in size. 3 generations of water shadow people, lying in the middle in a large figure, looked at the sky in horror. In the air, Yi Feng's eyes showed red stripes, and at the same time there was a red circle on his forehead, and his pupils turned golden. This is immortal mode. The 3 generations of water shadows immediately froze, and at this time, Yi Feng's figure suddenly appeared in front of the 3 generations of water shadows and stepped out. Bang! The eyes of the 3rd generation of Shui Ying widened, and when he heard a click in his body, his spine was directly stepped on by Yi Feng. The seal of the water body technique was successful in 0.1 seconds, but it was directly interrupted. Ye Feng stepped on the 3 generations of water shadows and said, "Don't move." Quote. The 3rd generation of water shadows almost passed out, blood was constantly sprayed in his mouth, and his lower body was completely unconscious. He didn't expect that Yi Feng's strike would be a thunderous blow that destroyed him. "Let me go, I'm willing to do anything." Yi Feng didn't listen to what the 3 generations of water shadow said, and was still reminiscing about the battle just now. Less than 3 seconds of battle. Interrupted Mizukage's ninjutsu twice in a row, and directly blasted Mizukage. This is the immortal pattern between the 1,000-hand pillars. There is no casting, directly with a fist, it is already strong to burst. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1. Put 3 generations of water shadow, reward, surrender of 3 generations of water shadow. The system has not finished broadcasting, and it was immediately changed again. Ding, the host killed 3 generations of water shadow, completed option 3, and got a reward, S-class character card, the original water shadow White Lotus. Ye Feng was a little confused, how did he complete option 3? Looking down, the 3 generations of water shadows don't know when they run out of gas. I'll go. 3 generations of water shadows hung like this. Yi Feng was unexpected. This water shadow is fake, right? So weak. But the system can't be wrong. Is it because my immortal mode is too strong? At this moment, a light rain suddenly fell in the sky, and the water mist condensed, seemingly mourning for the death of the 3 generations of water shadows. Yi Feng shook his head, looked at the corpse of the 3 generations of water shadow, and still carried the corpse. Bring back the corpses of the 3 generations of water shadow, this should be a great military merit, right? Moreover, the 3 generations of water shadow were killed by themselves in this way, and the mist-hidden village will fall into shadowless turmoil in the short term, and the internal strife will not stop, but it will also help Konoha village reduce a lot of trouble. Yi Feng thought about it, clasped his hands together, and began to seal the seal. On the bridge inserted into the sea, countless thick roots and vines suddenly grew, lifting the bridge again and connecting it with the mainland side. Although the terrain changed a little, Hokage connected the bridge with ninjutsu. It's not difficult, it's more wasted chakra. It just so happens that now Night Maple doesn't have much, that is, chakrado. In addition to the chakra in the original body, there is also the chakra of the yin seal. Just now absorbed 2 or 3,000 white chakras, and now there are more than half left. What made Hokage a little worried was the safety of Uchiha Makoto, the 7th class, and Terumi. When summoning the 3 Senjugi just now, suddenly the basket was empty, and it was not replenished for a while, so to protect the 7th class, Makoto's doppelganger should have disappeared automatically. Suddenly, a golden flash of light flew from a distance. It's a wave feng shui gate. He rushed towards Yi Feng's side at full speed, and when he hurried, the tremors of the earth also continued to come from the front. The huge rumbling sound can be clearly heard at the wave feng shui gate. And the huge 1,000-handed wooden man in the distance made Bo Feng Shuiman stunned. This is Night Maple's psychic beast. Or the enemy. Bo Feng Shuiman was born after the 1st generation died. Naturally he had never seen the 1st generation of Mu Duan, and he was already very surprised when he saw the art of the wooden man for the first time. Then there was a burst of explosive bombardment sounds, and the fierce wind immediately rushed in. It's terrifying. However, the closer he got to the battlefield, the more solemn the expression on Bo Fengshauman's face became. What was originally a plain terrain has directly become a basin. Everywhere were huge roots and vines cut off from the waist, and many of them were uprooted and fell to the ground. But there was no body at all. And the downpour, very weird. He couldn't help but secretly swallow a mouthful of spit. The surrounding water mist is desolate. In the mist, a figure suddenly walked out. Bo Feng Shuiman suddenly stood up in sweat, and took out the special flying thunder god Ku Wu. Watergate. In the mist, Yi Feng's figure gradually became clear. Yi Feng, are you all right? Bo Feng Shuiman was stunned for a moment, and quickly walked up. I heard Shinobu Harukami say that you were in danger. Before he finished speaking, the wave feng shui gate was stuck, and he looked at the corpse that Yefeng was carrying on his shoulder in amazement. Water shadow cloak, water shadow robe. Yi Feng, this is. Watergate stammered. Yi Feng dropped the body and just revealed the front. Wuyin village protected his forehead, long hair, his face was completely deformed, and his mouth was full of blood. Take a closer look, the waist is bent and the spine is broken. 3 generations of water shadows. Watergate, you came just in time, help me carry it. Quote. Bo Feng Shuiman was stunned. Is this person really a 3rd generation water shadow? Died at the hands of Yi Feng. You killed 3 generations of water shadow. Or else. Yefeng patted Watergate's shoulder and said, let's go back. Quote. On the way back, Watergate was still full of shock, and Yefeng actually killed 3 generations of water shadow. When he was a middle ninja, Yi Kaide was still a shinobi. When he reached Shangnan, Yefeng was already particularly for Barant. When he carried out his first S-class mission, Yefeng killed the 3 generations of water shadow. Such a reverse speed made Watergate feel a little unbalanced. Yefeng also had questions about this. The 3rd generation of water shadows looks weak, and I trampled to death with 1 foot. Quote. Watergate's eyelids jumped, and then, Watergate suddenly thought of what he had told himself. He muttered and said, according to our spy records, after 3 generations of water shadow took office, the frequency of occurrence in Wuyin village has become less and less frequent in this year. Quote. We guess that the 3 generations of water shadow either have something ulterior or are seriously ill. Something ulterior, seriously ill. Yi Feng immediately remembered Black and White, as well as the person behind him, and nodded and said, it may be both. Quote. Watergate nodded and said, yes, the sudden implementation of the high-pressure policy in the blood mist, we guess is to exclude dissidents. Quote. But we also feel too unreasonable to be in such a hurry to exclude dissidents. No matter what, Yi Feng, you have done a great job this time. This time will definitely disrupt the plans of Wuyin village, and Wuyin village will be in turmoil because of this. Your name Yefeng will soon be able to shake the entire ninja world. Just as Yokade was returning, Makoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno had already led everyone back to Konoha village. However, it was the Danzo mission that returned to Konoha a little earlier than them. Led by Mito Monita and Kaharu, Danzo walked to the main gate of Konoha village. Looking at the night sky of Konoha village, Danzo took a deep breath, I'm back. Quote. Danzo glanced at the young Mito Ryosuke and Shun Shinto and said, go and ask Uzumaki-sama Mito to come over, the seal of the 2 tails is unstable, and there is danger at any time. Quote. Ape Flying Biwa Lake hurriedly said, if that's the case, you can't enter the village, let's go to the training ground. Quote. Danzo glanced at Lake Biwa, nodded and said, yes, it's still Lord Bawako who is thoughtful, and please call Lord Uzumaki Mito over as soon as possible. Quote. Saying that, the regiment will not go away. And behind him, a blonde girl with iron locks tied to her hands, shivering. The brace she wears shows that she is a ninja of Union Village. At this moment, Makoto Uchiha and Zhao Haruno ran back with everyone. Uchiha Makoto looked at the lights in the doorway from a distance, quickened her pace, and shouted. Emergency, I want to see Naruto-sama. When Tuan Zhang heard this, he stopped and turned around. Sarutobi Bawako hurriedly greeted him and said, this is Makoto, what happened to you? Quote. Lord Bawako, Yefeng he was attacked by 3 generations of water shadows, and there are many white weirdos, hurry up and send someone to rescue him. When Ape Flying Biwa heard this, his face immediately changed and said, which Shangnan is still in the village now? Quote. Tuan Zhang came over and said, what's wrong? Quote. Uchiha Makoto saw Danzo and immediately turned pale, but Haruno Zhao in the back still explained the situation in detail. Mito Menyon next to him said, just now, Bo Feng Shui Men Shinobu has already gone. Quote. Makoto's eyes lit up and said, Shinobi on the water gate. Why didn't I see it? Quote. Mito Menyon smiled and said, then I don't know. Quote. That Lord Bawako, can you send more manpower? I don't know why there are a large number of white weirdos on the side of Wuyin village. Xiaochun said coldly. No, we can't arrange more manpower here, because we still have more important tasks on our side. Quote. Obito couldn't help but say, what important task is more important than teacher Yefeng? Quote. Tuan Zhang saw Obito, such a small Uchiha clan, actually opened the Sharingan. The second generation is right, the Uchiha clan is an evil race. Now he is still colluding with Yifeng. Little Ghost, our Konoha village is the most important. Anyone, at any time, can sacrifice for Konoha village. There is no one more important than Konoha. Little Ghost, your mind is dangerous. Is this how the Uchiha clan taught you? Or maybe Yefeng taught you that? Obito was stunned by Tuanzo and took 2 steps back. Uchiha Makoto blocked in front of Obito, looked at Danzo and said, Danzo-sama, children don't have so many ideas, is it against the interests of Konoha village to save Yakid Kamito? Quote. Tuan Zhang squinted his eyes, and the Zhuan sleeping Shinto next to him stood up and said, are you teaching our administrative department to do things? Quote. Naruto-sama has something to leave, and the most urgent matter in the village now is more important than rescuing Hokage Shinobu. Besides, you have already sent Wave Feng Shui Gate Shengren, what else do you want to do? Do you want to disobey the orders of the Ministry of Administration? As soon as the words of the turning sleep Shinto came out, Uchiha Makoto turned pale with fright, lowered her head and said, Makoto doesn't dare, but... Ryosuke Mito next to him interrupted Uchiha Makoto. No, but, as a Konoha ninja, always guard the will of fire. Quote. We must protect Konoha, put Konoha's interests first, and do not carry personal feelings. Makoto Naka Shinobu, your mind is dangerous now. Quote. Shun Shinto snorted and said to Kami-sama next to him, immediately pass on Uzumaki Mito-sama, we need Uzumaki Mito-sama's help to stabilize the seal of Neo. Quote. Whoever obstructs and lets now come out and destroy Konoha village is a sinner of Konoha village. Whirlpool Courtyard. Kushina looked at Uzumaki Mito with a happy face and said, Grandma Mito, I succeeded. Quote. Uzumaki Mito looked at Kushina lovingly, nodded and said, yes, the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you have already comprehended 7, 7, 8, 8. Quote. That's great. Uzumaki Mito touched Kushina's head, did you miss someone? Quote. Kushina's face blushed slightly and said, whatever. Quote. She really wanted to be Night Maple up. It's been 3 days, and I don't know when I'll be back. You don't have to worry, Yi Feng's strength is so strong, it will definitely be fine. Kushina nodded, but he was still a little worried in his heart, because according to normal terms, he should be coming back today, right? This is the first time Yefeng has gone out on a mission, and as soon as he goes out, it is a B-level mission, how can he not let Kushina not worry? A hint of uneasiness flashed in Uzumaki Mito's eyes, but it quickly covered up. Yefeng is definitely on his way back now, don't worry, maybe he will come back later in the evening. At this moment, there was a knocking sound outside. There is an order from the Ministry of Administration, Uzumaki Mito-sama, please come with us. Uzumaki Mito frowned and said, Ministry of Administration. Quote. Yes, there is an emergency here, and I need the help of Lord Mito Uzumaki. Is there anything you need my help with? There is a little situation in the two-tailed human pillar force captured by the Danzo-sama's side, and it needs the help of Uzumaki-sama Mito, which is very urgent. Uzumaki Mito looked at Kushina and said, Kushina, come with me to take a look. Quote. Yes, Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina came to the training ground and were led in by Kami Shinobu of the Administration Department. Danzo-sama, Mito-sama, Dormitory-sama, Uzumaki-sama Mito is here. In the center of the training ground, it was Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu. Next to it was a girl. It was the two-tailed man with his hands tied to iron locks, and the two teak doors. As if he had just cried, his small mouth was pursed tightly. Now such a formation is trembling with fear. Master Uzumaki Mito, let's see if this two-tailed human pillar force is unstable, do you want to change the personal pillar force? Uzumaki Mito pulled Kushina closer, looked at the scared look of the two teak doors, frowned and said, what are you doing? If you don't want any accidents, then let them go first. Quote. Kushina couldn't help but say, they are still so young, how can you treat them like this? Quote. Koharu immediately scolded angrily, presumptuous. Ju Shinai, is it your turn to speak here? Quote. Let her go. In case she has a sudden seizure, who will be responsible? Quote. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Koharu and said, you know what, Ju Shina is right, you guys doing this will only have the opposite effect, let them go. Quote. Koharu's face changed slightly, and he snorted and said, Master Mito Uzumaki, if something goes wrong, we can't afford it. Quote. Uzumaki Mito looked at Koharu and said, didn't you bring back this two-tailed human pillar force? Something went wrong, not your problem. Quote. Turning to Sleep Xiaochun, thanks to you being an elder and advisor for so many years, such words can be said. When Koharu heard this, he gritted his teeth and stopped talking. Mito Menyon smiled and said, Uzumaki Mito-sama, we don't mean that, we just think it's too risky for you to say that you want to let her go, don't look at her young, her strength is not weak. Quote. After all, it's human pillar power. What we mean is that this person's pillar force looks very unstable, whether to continue to seal it steadily, or transfer the second tail to another girl, after all, that girl has a blood succession limit on her. Uzumaki Mito said lightly, did you do this at the behest of Hokage? Quote. Lord Hokage is resisting the attack of Union Village, special circumstances in wartime, Lord Hokage is not there, and everything is in charge of the Ministry of Administration. Administration Department. What about Akamichi Wind? Quote. Akamichi took the wind. He suddenly fell ill, and temporarily handed over the administration department to the two deputies. Mito Menyon smiled and said, everything we do is completely for Konoha, please rest assured Uzumaki-sama. Quote. Uzumaki Mito frowned. It's better not to transfer indiscriminately, no one knows what will happen. Quote. Get out of the way. Danzo nodded and said, okay, Uzumaki-sama, then this place will be left to you, trouble. Quote. After taking 2 steps, Danzo turned back and said, Master Uzumaki Mito, for the safety of Konoha, we are going to open the 4 purple flame array, do you think there is any problem? Quote. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Danzo, nodded and said, okay. Quote. As soon as Tuanzang walked out of the range of the magic formation, the 4 upper shinobi standing around him immediately began to cast spells. The enchantment is formed immediately. The 4 purple flame array was a cuboid enchantment with a purple transparent flame that opened up in the 4 directions of east, west, south and north. The enchantment array is attached with purple flames, which cannot allow outsiders to enter the inside of the enchantment, and once it touches the 4 walls of the enchantment, it will be burned by the flames. Uzumaki Mito always felt that something was wrong, but walked up anyway. Just walked up and opened the girl's iron lock, but found that the girl was sweating profusely, as if she was enduring something, and said to Uzumaki Mito, old aunt, you hurry up. Quote. Uzumaki Mito's face suddenly changed, what? Quote. Before she could react, an extremely evil blue chakra emerged from the girl's body. Rumble. With a loud bang, Uzumaki Mito opened the 9-tailed form at the same time and flew out upside down. Uzumaki Mito's mind was dizzy, and when he looked up, he saw a huge cat demon, very huge, with a blue evil chakra on his body, 2 tails swinging, and a yin and yang chakra condensing in his mouth. Tailed beast Jade. The huge terrifying coercion made Ju Shinai sit down directly. Uzumaki Mito blocked in front of Ju Shinai, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said in a deep voice, this time it's troublesome. Quote. This is not the tail beastization, but the tailed beast got rid of the seal and the real body came out. The girl had fainted and died, and I was afraid that she was so badly injured that she could no longer be a human pillar. Here, the most suitable person to be a human pillar force is only Ju Shinai. Uzumaki Mito squinted. Could it be a small action by Tuanzo? Cancel the enchantment and let Ju Shinai out. Quote. Uzumaki Mito-sama, I'm sorry, the tailed beast has come out, we can't open the enchantment. Uzumaki Mito was immediately furious. I can naturally restrain the tailed beast, what are you afraid of? Quote. Sorry, Uzumaki-sama, we can't do this. This is our duty. Quote. At this moment, the tailed beast Jade of the 2-tailed brigade bombarded Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito roared, extracted the 9-tailed chakra, and used the 9-tailed chakra to materialize into the hand of the chakra that resembled the sharp claws of a demon fox, and grabbed the tailed beast Jade. Rumble. With a loud bang, the entire enchantment shook. Ju Shinai covered her heart and muttered, "Grandma Mito, you must be fine." Quote. At this time, Ju Shinai found that something was wrong. This matter is probably premeditated. Uzumaki Mito looked beyond the enchantment. Danzo and the others were no longer there, leaving only the 4 upper shinobi who were using the 4 purple flame arrays around them. Within the 4 purple yan array, Uzumaki Mito lost his mind, and was caught by the second Tails Brigade, and a cat's claw directly slapped Uzumaki Mito away. Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito spewed out a mouthful of blood, and suddenly found himself in front of a huge iron gate. And inside the iron gate, there was an orange-red 9-tailed fierce beast locked. Uzumaki Mito, it seems that you are in trouble. Do you want to release all my strength? Tail beasting. I can help you in any way. Quote. HMPH, 9 tails, we've been so many years, what are you like? I don't know. I will borrow your ability, but you don't think about devouring my body and regaining freedom, this is impossible. Uzumaki Mito opened his eyes, and his eyes turned into vertical pupils. Half-tailed beastization. The body of the whirlpool Mito changed significantly, forming a clear gushing state of the tailed beast chakra, covered with a dark red-tailed beast chakra coat, like a humanoid tailed beast. It's just that behind her is not the 9 tails, but the 6 tails. Over the years, Uzumaki Mito has been very restrained and has hardly used tail beasting. But now this situation has to be used. Rumble. An even more deafening bang than just now. This time, it was the 2 tails who flew out upside down again. After Neo was slapped away by Uzumaki Mito's palm, Dragon Tooth grinned and roared angrily. Uzumaki Mito's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of Neo Yugaku, with 5 fingers wrapped around the 5 attribute chakra. 5 element seal. Neo Yuga is very nimble, like a cat, jumping away in an instant, dodging the attack of Uzumaki Mito. But Uzumaki Mito's speed was just as fast, and he chased after him, pressing one hand on Neo Yugaku's stomach. Ah, human, you look for death. Quote. Neo Yuga suddenly made a sound and slapped Uzumaki Mito away. The two collided again, fighting countless times in the air, seemingly simple attacks, but each blow carried a very large chakra. Finally, both flew upside down at the same time. Uzumaki Mito wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, gasped, and did not pursue, because her tail beastization was almost at a critical point. If you want to go further, the 9 tails will probably get out of trouble. But the 2-tailed brigade on the opposite side has no such concerns at all. Do you want Ju Shinai to seal this cat demon and become a human pillar force? Uzumaki Mito has always regarded Ju Shina as his own, and the successor of the 9-tailed pillar force who was originally good is now forced to become the tailed man pillar force. Moreover, his own seal is already about to move. Outside the training ground, Danzo, Mito Monita, and Kaharu looked at the enchantment from a distance and smiled. Mito Menyon said in a deep voice, Danzo, trap them inside, they won't die, right? Quote. Danzo smiled and said, how can the 2 tails kill the 9 tails? You don't have to worry, Uzumaki Mito will definitely not let Ju Shinai make any mistakes. Quote. No matter what the outcome is, Yefeng will lose his only reliance. How can the seriously injured Uzumaki Mito be able to keep Night Maple safe? Besides, at that time, Uzumaki Mito will not have the ability to decide who will inherit the 9 tails. No matter what, we can't let Night Maple combine with the 9-tailed pillar force. Besides, Yefeng and the Uchiha clan are also very close. Just take Uchiha Makoto's reaction today, maybe he and Uchiha Makoto also have something unspeakable. For the sake of Konoha village, we must eliminate all factors of instability and maintain the peace and stability of Konoha. Mito Menyon frowned and said, in case Yefeng gets angry, his strength is not weak, it can be said that we are one of the best in Konoha. Quote. Xiaochun suddenly sneered and said, does he still dare to kill us? Quote. How can we say that we are also the elder figures of the village? He dares to touch a single hair of us, and no one in Konoha can protect him. At that time, Ape Fei will also make a move to protect the Will of Fire. Are there so many of us? Are we afraid that Yefeng will not be able to make it a hairy boy? At this time, Yefeng and Bofeng Shuiman returned to Konoha village. Yefeng looked ahead and had already reached the gate of Konoha village. It was already night. The gate of the village entrance was brightly lit, and there were a few figures faintly. Looking closely, the female ninja in front turned out to be Makoto Uchiha. Night Maple, it's great that you're okay. Quote, she had been waiting for herself at the door. There are also 3 people in the 7th class. Terumi has been taken away as a mission target. Teacher. Night Maple, Rin and Makoto Uchiha rushed up first. Yefeng smiled and said, it's okay, I'm back. Quote, Lin pulled the corner of Yifeng's clothes and looked. Teacher, your body is too clean. Uchiha Makoto looked at the wave feng shui gate behind him. Watergate, this is. Watergate said in a deep voice. This is a secret, I will go first. Quote. Yefeng nodded and said, well, you go first. Quote. As soon as the words fell, the Watergate disappeared. Uchiha Makoto suddenly felt a little nervous. She saw the clothes on the person carrying by the Watergate, a little familiar, it seemed to be a Hokage robe. No, the color is not right, it's a blue pattern. It won't be a water shadow. Uchiha Makoto shook her head, removing this impossible idea of herself. How could it be Mizukage? Yefeng touched Lin's head and said, okay, it's so late, the teacher is back, go home. Quote. Lin nodded and said, well, teacher, see you tomorrow. Quote. Well, you guys go back too. Yokade said to Obito and Kakashi. The 3 students also have a bit of conscience and know how to wait for themselves at the door. The task is completed, rest for a few days first. Makoto, go back too. Uchiha Makoto nodded and said, Yi Kaide, then I will take Obito back, thank you for helping our Uchiha family cultivate a genius. Quote. Yefeng smiled and said, this is his talent, although he prefers to cry his nose, but the talent is still there. Quote. Ah, teacher Yefeng, shut up. Obito is urgent. How can you say such an ugly thing about yourself in front of Makoto sensei? And Rin is watching here. Obito wants to kill Yi Kaide. Teacher Yefeng is so hateful. Yefeng smiled, waved his hand and said, let's go, I'll go back too. Quote. Now Yefeng is like an arrow in his heart, killing Shui Ying or something, it's all floating clouds, or it's more important to go back to see his fiancé and daughter-in-law. I wonder what Ju Shinai is doing now. Are you thinking about yourself? Uchiha Makoto suddenly said. By the way, Yokade, I heard that Danzo has returned, and he asked the people of the administration department to ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to go somewhere. Danzo called Grandma Mito away. Uchiha Makoto nodded and said, yes, Danzo seems to have brought back some 2 tails, please ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to help seal it. Quote. Neo. If Yefeng remembers correctly, Orway was in Union Village, and Tuanzang had just signed a 20-year peace agreement with Union Village, and turned around and stole Orway from Union Village. It's really an old yin bai. In just a moment, Yifeng had already guessed the matter. Listening to Fugaku, he saw Uzumaki Mito-sama and Kushina go to the number 4 training ground, which is the training ground closest to Hokage Rock. Yifeng frowned, feeling a little uneasy in his heart and said, I know, then I'll take a look first. Quote. After speaking, Yifeng's figure disappeared instantly. The 3 members of the 7th class were once again amazed by Yifeng's speed. The teacher is too fast. This is Shangnin. HMPH, I will definitely be more powerful than the teacher in the future. Obito, you can dream. Kakashi, are you trying to fight? Come on, don't think that if you open the Sharingan, I'm afraid of you, I also have a Thunder Thousand Birds. Obito and Kakashi quarreled again, and Rin said speechlessly, you guys don't argue, it's so late, go home quickly. Quote. Uchiha Makoto frowned, pulled Obito and said, let's go home, another genius has appeared in our Uchiha family, and after going back, the head of the family must be very happy. Quote. Obito nodded, glanced at Kakashi, snorted, and walked away with his nose towards the sky. He took the soil and is now a genius of the Uchiha family. Yifeng's figure was fast, stepping on the eaves, flashing, and directly came to the wall of the whirlpool courtyard. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina were indeed not in it. It seems that they really went to the training ground. At this moment, Yefeng felt that in the direction of the fire shadow rock, 2 very huge chakras suddenly appeared. One of the chakras, Yefeng is very familiar with. 9-tailed chakra. It is Uzumaki Mito. The other one is probably Neo. Grandma Mito and Kushina are in trouble over there. Thinking of this, Yi Feng immediately flew towards the number 4 training ground. At this moment, the character card between the 1,000 hand pillars, the fusion degree was suddenly 100% full. Ding! Congratulations to the host for fully fusing the SSS level character card 1,000 hand pillar. In Yi Feng's mind, he immediately digested all the knowledge related to the 1,000 hand pillars. All the power between the 1,000 hand pillars has been inherited. The ninja god last, that is, the strongest ninjutsu immortal magic mu done true thousands of hands, top avatar, has been comprehended. Now Yefeng feels like 1,000 hand pillars. Ninja god. Ding! Search for S-Class character card Uzumaki Ashina and S-Class character card Original Water Shadow White Lotus. The host confused one of them, which one to fuse? Yi Feng said without hesitation. Fusion Vortex Ashina. Quote. White Lotus is a water powerhouse, while Uzumaki Ashina is a more scarce formation powerhouse. Now is the time to need the sealing technique of Uzumaki Ashina. And in the future, when Ju Shinai doesn't understand anything, he will point it out. After fusing this card, the host will receive all of Uzumaki Ashina's ninjutsu, sealing techniques, physical skills, combat experience, and cultivation talents. Estimated full integration time is 30 days. Does the host choose fusion? Fusion. After the character cards between the 1,000 hand pillars are fused, it is equivalent to inheriting all the character cards between the 1,000 hand pillars, and then on this basis, continue to fuse the character cards of the patriarch of the Vortex clan, Uzumaki Ashina. It is equivalent to Yi Feng having the strength and talent of the top figures of the 1,000 Hands clan and the Vortex clan at the same time, as well as the blood succession limit. Uzumaki Ashina. A powerhouse of the same era as the original Hokage Senjukuma, he is famous for his sealing technique. The sealing technique he used was amazed even by the 1,000 hand pillars. In an instant, a virtual space appeared in Yi Feng's mind. In the center of the space stood an old and decaying sound shadow, which was none other than Uzumaki Ashina. Yi Feng's perspective was brought into Uzumaki Ashina, as if he was Uzumaki Ashina. And the enemy on the opposite side turned out to be the 9 tails. 4 elephant seal. Gossip seal. Under the seal of Uzumaki Ashina, the 9 tails was actually stuffed into the body of a young woman Zhu Li. This figure is a little familiar. Yi Feng opened his eyes and could feel that he was very familiar with the sealing technique, and he could launch the sealing technique in his mind at any time, and he could throw it at will. In a thought, seal the tailed beast. This is the horror of Uzumaki Ashina. Moreover, this is only the degree of preliminary integration. If it is completely integrated, it is simply unimaginable. Name: Yi Feng. Strength: Super Shadow Level. Position: Special Shinobi. Character cards: SSS Level Senjukuma, Fusion Degree 100%, S-Class Vortex Ashina, Fusion Degree 10%. Blood Succession Boundary: God Level Mudden. Ninjutsu: Flying Thunder God Art LV3, Dirt Reincarnation LV3, Thunder Thousand Birds LV3, Epilotus LV3, Yin Seal LV3, 100 Heroes Art LV3, 4 Elephant Seal LV9, Ghoul Seal LV9, Harem Art LV3, Shuriken Shadow Avatar Art LV3. The level of the 4 Elephant Seal and the Ghoul Seal, because of the bonus of Uzumaki Ashina, is directly increased from level 3 to level 9. Yi Feng just glanced at it and immediately rushed to the number 4 training ground at full speed. Who is so bold and scurrying over the village? Yi Feng ignored it and continued to sprint at full speed. In the night sky, even Shangnan only saw a black shadow flashing. The speed is so fast. Soon, Yi Feng came to the door of the number 4 training ground. The entire number 4 training ground was surrounded by a group of ninjas, and even mosquitoes could not enter. But you can see that there is also a 4 purple flame array enchantment ninjutsu inside. In the midst of the assembly, the huge 2-tailed brigade is suppressing the half-tailed beastly whirlpool Mito. Danzo said to ask Uzumaki Mito to strengthen the seal, and now that Neo has broken through the seal, why is there only Uzumaki Mito alone, Danzo? These ninjas stand guard here and don't go in to help. What man? The administration department does things, idlers are exempt from entering. Quote. In addition to the Dark Department, the largest ninja troops in Konoha village are the Administration Department and the Guard Department. From the beginning of the establishment of the village, the Ministry of Guards belonged to the Uchiha clan. The Administrative Department, on the other hand, is a department jointly commanded by several families of Konoha, including the Shunyu clan and the Mito clan, and many of them are also from these families. The administration department does things, and idlers are exempt from entering. Get lost. Quote. Yefeng saw the 9 tails and the 2 tails in the middle of the training ground, standing together, and had a sense of foreboding in his heart. Because the 9 tails have already grown 8 tails, they don't have the original appearance of Uzumaki Mito, and they look like a tailed beast. Ju Shinai, Grandma Mito, you must be fine. Yefeng rushed straight up. Immediately, a group of kami shinobi stopped Yi Kaide. What are you doing? Didn't you see that the administration department is doing things, and idlers are exempt from entering? Quote. Yi Feng roared. If you don't want to die, let me get away. Quote. As soon as the words fell, Shangnin, who stopped him, was instantly frightened into a cold sweat by the terrifying momentum that erupted from Yi Feng's body. Night Maple directly burst out of immortal mode. The sudden outbreak of immortal chakra, almost visible killing intent, made everyone fearful. The ninjas of the administrative department in front of them all knelt down with suppression. Some of the old Shangnin, shivering, already recognized Yefeng as an immortal mode. Now, they are completely afraid to get in the way. This TM is the reincarnation of the ninja god Thousand Hand Pillar. Yi Feng didn't have time to pay attention to them and passed by. No one dared to stop it. Yi Feng, what are you doing? Tuan Zhang, Sleeping Kaharu, and Mito Menyon saw Yi Kaide break in, and immediately blocked in front of Yi Feng. If Yi Feng dares to break in, then Yi Feng will lose money. Get out of here. At this time, Danzo, Kaharu and Mizuto Menyon, their eyes were about to pop out. The momentum exuding from Yi Feng's body made them want to kneel down and worship. Looking closely, the eyes of the 3 people were about to pop out. Immortal mode. Among the 3, Mito Menyon was first so frightened that he trembled and stammered and couldn't speak. At this time, a gold and a silver behind it, 2 figures fell instantly. It is Bofeng Shuaman and Kimu Shuamao. As soon as they arrived, looking at the battle between the 9 tails and the second tails in the 4 purple yan array, they immediately frowned. And when Xiaochun saw Bofeng Shuaman and Kimu Shuamao coming, he felt a little confident in his heart. After all, it was the 2 generals of the dark department here, and no matter how bold Feng was, he didn't dare to do anything. So he turned to Kaharu and said, Yefeng, you want to do it? Before he finished speaking, Yefeng directly slapped Xiaochun away. Danzo and Mito Menyon, as well as the newly arrived Bofeng Shuaman, Kimu Shuamao, and the ninjas of the administrative department who had already knelt down in front of them, their hearts were about to pop out. Yi Kaide slapped Xiaochun away with a slap. Bofeng Shuaman and Kimu Shuamao's first reaction was horror. The murderous aura emanating from Yi Feng's body, as well as chakra, all gave them the feeling of being overpowering Mount High. Standing in front of Yi Feng, he had no confidence at all. In just a few days, how did Yefeng suddenly become so terrifying? Even Kiki Shuo Shigeru, the hero of Konoha, feels the same way. And how can Kaharu say that he is also one of the 4 giants of Konoha, and he will fight when he says it? Tuanzo and Mito Menyon's faces changed, and they looked at each other, and they both had a sense of foreboding in their hearts. Kaharu fell heavily on the ground, his eyes widened, and his mouth was completely unconscious. At this time, Xiaochun still couldn't figure out, where did Yefeng get the courage? Dare to hit yourself. I am the elder of Konoha village, you dare to fight, do you know the consequences? When the ape flies back, you are dead. She touched her mouth, her hands were full of blood, the upper and lower teeth in the front row were all knocked out, and her mouth was full of blood. Night Maple, you look for death. Quote. Kaharu's eyes were red, she had never suffered such a shame. Bofeng Shuaman, Kimu Shuamao, why are you guys still not catching this Konoha traitor? As for Bofeng Shuaman, he wanted to stop Yi Feng, but remembering the 3 generations of water shadow that had just been put in the coffin, he still looked at Kimu Shuamao very sensibly. Let the seniors deal with this matter, and learn from the seniors along the way. Kimu Shuamao frowned and said, Gentlemen, what is the situation? Who is inside? Quote. What's the situation? We asked Uzumaki Mito-sama to seal Neo, and he came to make trouble, which led to the current situation. Quote. He also injured me, he is simply a sinner of Konoha. Kaharu has lost his mind. Being beaten in front of so many people, she couldn't wait to immediately smash Yi Feng's corpse into 10,000 pieces. However, Yi Feng ignored them at all and rushed towards the 4 purple yan array. At the same time, in the 4 purple yan formation, Kushina and Uzumaki Mido, as well as Neo Yugaku, all noticed Yi Kaide. Arao smiled again and said, "Hee, another person is coming. Do you humans dare to let go of the enchantment?" Quote. Before the words fell, the Neo Tail Brigade was once again kicked away by the almost completely tailed beast Uzumaki Mido. When Kushina saw Yi Feng coming, tears couldn't help but flow out. Night Maple, seeing that Kushina was about to touch it, Uzumaki Mido quickly shouted, "Don't touch it. The enchantment array is attached to purple flames, and once it touches the 4 walls of the enchantment, it will be burned by the flames." Quote. Kushina's face suddenly turned pale, and he looked at Yi Feng, who rushed up and shouted, "Yi Feng, don't touch it." Quote. As soon as the words fell, Yi Feng had already touched it. Multiply. Yi Feng took a step back in pain and watched as his fingers were directly burned by the flames of the 4 purple flame array. Then the purple flame continued to burn along Yi Feng's fingers. Kushina looked at Yi Feng's scorched black hand, and tears were about to come out. Yi Feng. Quote. Kaharu, who was knocked out of his teeth by Yi Kaide, spat out blood and smiled hatefully. The 4 purple yan array, without shadow level strength, it is impossible to break through from the outside. This time the 2 tails and the 9 tails are out of control one after another. It's all the result of your Yi Feng's single-handedly destroyed. You are a sinner of Konoha. Quote. Yi Feng glanced at Xiaochun coldly. Today, I will kill you. Quote. Yi Feng's sudden eruption of murderous aura shocked everyone. His charred fingers moved, and the charred skin fell off, revealing skin as smooth as new. The scorched finger just now turned into a completely healthy finger again, as if it had never been burned. This is the super recovery ability between the 1000 hand pillars under the immortal mode bonus. Ordinary flames can't burn Night Maple. Uzumaki Mido looked at the appearance of the Night Maple immortal mode, slightly lost in concentration. It is this distraction, and the seal in the body is already uncontrollable. The terrifying evil chakra emerged from the body of Uzumaki Mido. The already extremely dignified tailed beast chakra is now almost becoming substance. The whole person was propped up on all 4s, and the 9th tail had begun to pop out. It's about to become a real 9 tails. Ha ha ha, my 9 tails are coming out. It's been 40 years, I'm free. 1000 hand pillar, Uzumaki Ashina, I will kill all your descendants. Uzumaki Mido was already about to lose control of his body, so he pounced on the 2nd tail and shouted loudly, "Kushina, you come quickly, I will help you seal the 2nd tail." Quote. Yi Kaide saw that Uzumaki Mido was about to lose control, and his heart sank. Even if the sealing of the 2 tails is successful, what will Uzumaki Mido do himself? Kushina was also so anxious to cry. Yi Feng looked at Kushina's helpless appearance, and his heart hurt, and he immediately sealed his hands, and the huge immortal chakra instantly gushed out like a river, like a sea water. The strongest wooden ninjutsu between the ninja god 1000 hand pillars. Immortal magic Mu done true thousands of hands top. Yi Feng's previous use on the bridge between water and fire was the art of the wooden man. And this immortal law Mu done true thousands of hands topping transformation Chu is a super evolved version of the art of the wooden man. The size of that wooden figure is not as big as the head of this huge Buddha statue. Yi Feng stood on top of the wooden figure, and the wooden man sat on top of the head of the huge Buddha statue. Therefore, the name of this immortal magic Mu done is True 1000 Hands Top. It's Buddha. Yi Feng turned Buddha on the head of the wooden man, and the wooden man turned into a Buddha on the head of the Buddha statue. Menyon. Tuan Zhang saw the ground shattering and the land collapsing, and reacted very quickly, pulling away Mido Menyon at once. I saw Tuanzo dragging Mido Menyon, jumping back, and dodging the corner of the huge Buddha statue that suddenly appeared. This Buddha statue is bigger than a mountain. A hand is bigger than a house. A little corner, if you touch it, you will be seriously injured. Mido Menyon sat directly on the ground, looking in horror at the huge Buddha statue towering in front of him, with countless giant arms, which suddenly pulled him back to his memory 40 years ago. That terrifying battle of the End Valley, the terrain has changed. It was exactly the same huge Buddha statue that made him remember. Tuan hid in shock, gritting his teeth and not sitting down. At that time, they were still young and worshipped the ninja god. That person, with his own strength, was the strongest of the Zebo clan, and at the same time subdued the most terrifying and evil Nine Tails, united with the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan, and sealed the Nine Tails in the body of Uzumaki Mido. Now, a completely different-looking young man, exactly the same immortal mode, used the exact same ultimate immortal magic Mu-Dun ninjutsu. Nope, but Xiaochun was not so lucky, and was directly blasted by the corner of the huge Buddha statue that roared, and blood splashed. Bofeng Shuaman and Kimu Shuamao were both shocked and hurriedly retreated. In Bofeng Shuaman's mind, when he went to rescue Yifeng, the terrifying scene everywhere appeared. Could it be caused by this huge Buddha statue now? That's too big. And Kiki Shuamao's mind recalled that when he was a child, about 30 years ago, the ninjutsu teacher told him about the legend between the Thousand Hand Pillars. After all, Kiki Shuamao was born in the First Ninja World War, and he was not able to catch a glimpse of the style of the Thousand Hand Pillars. Could it be that this is the strongest immortal ninjutsu among the Thousand Hand Pillars? With the appearance of the huge Buddha statue, Yifeng did nothing, and the four purple yan array was crushed by the momentum of the real thousands of hands on top. Just pressing it when he appeared was already far beyond the shadow level blow. Bang! The four purple yan array shattered instantly, and the four upper ninja who controlled the four purple yan array suddenly spewed out a large mouthful of blood, and quickly retreated. Does this still need to be hit? I'll go. The Nine Tails, who was almost free, was directly dumbfounded when he saw the appearance of the huge Buddha statue, and his momentum was weak, and he was suppressed back by the Whirlpool Mido. In the spiritual world of Uzumaki Mido, the nine-tailed nine llamas had already torn off the lock of the seal with both hands, and half of his body had already come out. But the moment he saw the immortal magic Mu-Dun Gen thousands of hands on top of the body, the Nine Tails subconsciously retracted his body. Although the history has been a long time, that time, the Nine Tails were really scared. Now just when I see the Thousand Hands Buddha statue, I feel a sense of fear in my heart. Uzumaki Mido took advantage of this rare opportunity to relock the lock of the seal. Nope, the Nine Tails screamed, stretched out his hand, and blocked the closed door. I'm going out. Uzumaki Mido's Nine Tails instantly changed back to 6 tails, but one tail was about to grow. Uzumaki Mido was still fighting with the Nine Tails, his face getting whiter. She is already old, not as good as before. Originally, the pressure on Uzumaki Mido was very huge. If her seal was broken and the Nine Tails came out again, what would happen to Konoha village? Who would protect Konoha village? So Uzumaki Mido has been gritting his teeth desperately and persisting. Even if he insists on it for one more second, he hopes for one more second. Now seeing Yefeng using immortal Wood-Dun Gen thousands of hands on top makeup, Uzumaki Mido breathed a sigh of relief and was no longer afraid. At the same time, in her mind, a figure between the thousand-hand pillars immediately appeared. Between the pillars, did you see that? Uzumaki Mido now believes that Yokade is the reincarnation of Senju Pillar. Otherwise, how could you use exactly the same ninjutsu? This is samsara. The Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan are destined to combine and recreate the glory of Konoha. As the wife of Senjukuma, the nindo between Senjujuku is also the ninjado of Uzumaki Mido. Ju Shinai also stared blankly at the huge Buddha statue that kept popping up in front of him. Before he could react, a huge wooden hand was placed in front of him. Ju Shinai gritted his teeth and jumped on the palm of the wooden hand. The palm was retracted. Ju Shinai exhaled softly, watching the ground get smaller and smaller, and he rose higher and higher. It's so high, it's hundreds of meters, right? Ah! Before Ju Shinai could react, he was hugged from behind. Ju Shinai, are you okay? Ju Shinai's shoulders trembled, he shook his head, and tears dripped down. It's okay, I'm fine. Quote, I'm back, and I won't let anyone hurt you. Ju Shinai's body trembled for a moment, and he suddenly turned around and kissed Yefeng deeply. Chapter 51. Time seemed to stop at this moment. Ju Shinai tasted it shallowly, and Yefeng felt too dissatisfied. Save Grandma Mido, Ju Shinai said with a red face. Yifeng nodded, his hands sealed. Suddenly, the entire heaven and earth suddenly darkened. An incomparably terrifying aura was being released and spreading, like a terrifying wave crashing on the shore, and the entire continent was suddenly shaken. The 1,000-meter-high Buddha statue has completely risen, and the continuous peaks are like rockeries in front of this giant Buddha. Thousands of huge Buddha palms, covering the sky. The entire village of Konoha was shaking strongly. What's going on? Is there an earthquake? What's that? Everyone in Konoha village was awakened. Everyone ran out into the street. Looking up, I don't know how tall, looking up at the huge Buddha statue with 1,000 hands on the clouds and mist, suddenly felt like the end of the world had come. The Uchiha clan, Uchiha Makoto with Uchiha with the soil, is receiving a meeting from the head of the family, Uchiha Shuna. Suddenly, the ground shook wildly, and everyone walked out. Uchiha saw the huge Buddha statue in an instant, and shivered. This is the strongest ninjutsu of the first generation. Quote. At that time, Uchiha was still a 3-year-old child, at the gate of the village, watching the battle of the End Valley from afar, which was the most terrifying and shocking battle he had ever seen in his life, and it was indelible in his memory. This huge Buddha statue he will never forget for the rest of his life. Who is it? Is it Night Maple? Quote. Uchiha immediately remembered Yifeng, but he couldn't believe it at all. He didn't know that there was a survivor child in the intercolumn cell experiment of the big snake pill before. But that child's Mudun is not worth mentioning at all. And before, Uchiha was also a wooden dun who had seen the Night Maple in an instant. Although it was very strong, it was still far from enough compared to the 1,000-hand pillar. There is a difference between Mudun and Muduan, and the original Hokage-sama Mudun is the real Muduan. Makoto and Obito's eyes also widened. This giant Buddha, this 1,000 hands, is too familiar. Isn't it the super ninjutsu that Hokage used when he let them go at the bridge across the sea? Makoto and Obito looked back as they ran. It's just not as huge as it is now, right? That's 10 times bigger. Is it Yikaide? Makoto herself couldn't believe it. The Hyuga family, Hyuga Heavenly Blade, Hinata's oldest elder, one of the 38 disciples of the second-generation Hokage Senjutsu, looked at the giant Buddha and bowed directly to the ground. This is the strongest technique of the first-generation adults immortal Fa Mu Duan. The people of the Hyuga gate behind also couldn't help but kneel on the ground and admire the miracle. Hinata Hiyashi in the back secretly raised his head and couldn't help but use the white-eyed telescopic eye, using chakra to multiply the eye's ability and see the huge Buddha statue a kilometer away. He vaguely felt that the top of this giant Buddha's head seemed to be a person. Take a closer look, it's a wooden man. The wooden man is the man on his head. Why is this figure so familiar? Suddenly, blood flowed from the edge of Hinata's eyes, and his eyes went black, and he fainted directly. Hiyashi, the next head of the Hyuga family, fell, and the people of the Hyuga family suddenly panicked. The high-ranking members of the other major families all widened their eyes. Among them, there were also a few elders, who had been there since before the establishment of Konoha's village, and their bodies trembled when they looked at the 1,000 hands Buddha statue. Oh my God, what thousands of hands? Impossible. Who is this? On the border of the land of fire and the land of thunder, 2 huge chakras suddenly erupted. The boulder next to it exploded instantly. With the explosion of the stone, I saw 2 figures colliding together at an extremely fast speed, and then separated instantly. Lei Dun, Lei Li Hot Knife. Wuden Dalian Bullet Technique. 3 generations of Hokage and 3 generations of Thunder Shadow have made their last killers. Rumble. With a loud bang, the battlefield filled instantly. Suddenly, a black shadow jumped out from inside. It was the 3rd generation of Hokage Ape Flying Sun, with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. And the 3 generations of Lei Ying remained in place and did not catch up. On the other side, Orochimaru, Tsunade is dealing with the partner of the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow, the current Yaoi Ren Zuli, Fogai. Half-tailed beastly Fokai, with 1 enemy and 2, is no less. The big snake pill was smashed by Fogai's punch, fell down and got up again. There was a twinkle in his eyes. The power of Yaoi, he suddenly wanted to study it. At this moment, a terrifying tremor came from Konoha village. The ground beneath everyone's feet trembled. What's going on? Was there an earthquake? Quote. Yao faced the 2 of Orochimaru and Tsunade, who had already gained the advantage, and suddenly hurriedly retreated. Even the 3 generations of Lei Ying were very puzzled. Fogai. What's wrong? Quote. The half-tailed beast Foke said in a low voice. I don't know why, the power of the 8 tails suddenly became restless. Quote. The third generation of Lei Ying hurriedly stepped back. It won't be a problem with your seal, right? Quote. I don't know, look over there. Quote. They suddenly saw that on the other side of Konoha village, a giant Buddha with 1,000 hands that was bigger than a mountain range. What's that? Vokai mused. I feel Yao's fear. Quote. The third generation of Lei Kage looked at Sarutobi Hinata, and then at Orochimaru and Tsunade on the other side. At this time, a white figure fell from the sky. I'm not late, am I? Jiraiya also arrived, and the 3 shinobi of Konoha gathered. The 3 generations of Lei Ying saw that they couldn't do anything, and immediately said, we retreat. Quote. Tsunade turned his head to look at the huge 1,000 hands Buddha statue and was stunned. Orochimaru said with a smile, is that Konoha? Quote. Zilai also said with a shocked face, 1,000-hand giant Buddha, is that the art of Mudden Murin? Such a big wooden man. Quote. The breath of the ape flying sun slash was a little weak, but his eyes were bright, and he glanced at the 1,000-hand giant Buddha and said, that's not the art of the wooden man, let's go back immediately. Quote. As a personal disciple of the first Hokage and the second Hokage, the first reaction of Sarutobi Hinata when he saw the real thousands of hands and the top of the Kaku was Yi Feng. Nothing will happen in the village. Ape Fei Richo's mind immediately came to mind the weird smile that had appeared not long ago, when Tuanzang left first. Tuanzang, don't make any more trouble. And in the Wuyin village, the sudden disappearance of the 3 generations of Water Shadow and the Ninja Knife 7 caused the entire Wuyin village to fall into civil strife. The eyes of all the high-level people were on the position of Water Shadow. At this time, on the other side of the sea, a huge Buddha statue suddenly appeared, which startled everyone in Wuyin village. Oh my god, what is that? Everyone was stunned. Over there is the direction of Konoha village, could it be some forbidden technique in Konoha village? In Iwayne village, Tokage Onoki was listening to the report of his subordinates and learned that Lei Ying was fighting against Hokage, preparing to take a blitzkrieg attack on Union Village and outflank the back road of Union Village to avenge the attack on Iwayne Village during World War II. Suddenly, the ground shook a little. Onoki walked out the window and saw a huge giant Buddha with 1,000 hands suddenly appearing. Am I blinded? Onoki wiped his eyes, and his eyes were about to pop out. Come on, immediately go to Konoha to find out, what is the situation of this 1,000-hand giant Buddha. Yes, Tsuchikage-sama. All at once, 3 Shangnin squads immediately set off from Iwahide village and headed for Konoha. In Onoki's mind, 40 years later, he was still young, and as an emissary of Iwahide village, he went to Konoha village to worship. In Cheyenne village, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows looked at the super-huge Buddha statue from afar, and they were in a daze. Such a huge Buddha statue. Bigger than a mountain. Just when the 3 generations of Wind Shadows lost their minds, they found themselves caught in illusion. There was a desolate desert in the illusion, and there was no one. Where is this? Suddenly, in front of him, 2 people appeared. A figure is about 10 years old, with short orange hair, beautiful appearance, and a black robe. The other figure is an old man. Just his eyes. Kaleidoscope Sharingan. An hour later, the eyes of the 3 generations of Wind Shadow widened, unable to believe that they had died at the hands of 2 unknown figures. The dark red blood seeped into the yellow sand, slowly submerging the body of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows and disappearing. In this way, the Red Sand Scorpion and Uchiha Ba joined forces to assassinate successfully, and dragged the corpse away. The Wind Shadow disappeared, and the village was in chaos. Yi Feng didn't expect that the immortal magic would escape he used this time. The strongest ninjutsu among the 1,000-hand pillars, shocked the entire ninja world. Moreover, he accidentally assisted in the joint assassination of the Red Sand Scorpion and Uchiha Madara. The flapping wings of this butterfly of Yikaide flashed the great battle of the entire ninja world. The accidental disappearance of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows is the trigger for the Third Ninja World War. Rumble. A bang. The whole continent shook. The birthplace of the tremor was the training ground on the edge of Konoha village. Say that it is a training ground, it is already a ruin. Give me a good stay. A giant hand of the 1,000-hand giant Buddha stretched out, covering the sky and shaking the world. This terrifying aura made the two tails and nine tails in front of them suddenly frightened, and the hair all over their bodies couldn't help but stand up. Tailed Beast Jade. A terrifying purple-black chakra ball instantly condensed from the mouth of the two-tailed and brigade. In a short moment, the tailed beast Jade burst out. The breath of destruction distorted the air. With such power, I am afraid that it can destroy a mountain. However, the hand of the thousand hands giant Buddha is covered like a five-finger mountain. The tailed beast Jade exploded in the big hand of the thousand-hand giant Buddha, but only a little wood chips were dropped. Nope. Neo Jiyu shouted in horror as he looked at the big hand trying to cover its field. Rumble. A bang. It's like an earthquake. The smoke and dust quickly dispersed, and the second tail did not dare to speak, shivering, and was held down by a big hand. It's like being pressed under the five-finger mountain. On the other side, the seal of Uzumaki Mito is still very unstable, the half-tailed beast has not been cancelled, and the seventh tail is about to move. Yi Feng frowned, cancelling the real thousands of hands on top, mainly because the consumption of chakra was too great. It is equivalent to 100 times the art of the wooden man, and every second consumes chakra, only a super chakra reservoir like the thousand-hand pillar can withstand it. Yefeng slowly fell down holding Ju Shinai, looked at Ju Shinai and said, "Wait for me." Quote. Ju Shinai nodded and said, "Yi Feng, I know the sealing technique." Quote. "Let me come, it'll be fine." Yefeng still didn't quite believe in Ju Shinai's sealing technique. After all, Ju Shinai was a novice, and unlike himself, he inherited the sealing technique of Uzumaki Ashina. Ju Shinai said anxiously, "Yi Feng, you don't understand the sealing technique." Quote. "No one knows the Vortex clan's sealing technique better than me." Yefeng smiled and said. Before the words fell, Yi Feng's figure flashed, and he had already arrived in front of Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito was still struggling with the nine tails, and said with difficulty, "Yi Kaide, you quickly call Ju Shinai over and strengthen the seal for me." Quote. In the spirit world of Uzumaki Mito, the nine tails roared, "Let me out." Quote. Now the nine tails regretted dying. What did he provoke just now? If he hadn't been instigated just now, he would have already gotten out of trouble. Even if this guy is so difficult as the guy 4 years ago, if you don't fight him, as long as you escape, you can escape. As a result, he provoked himself and ruined the great opportunity. The nine tails themselves wanted to hammer themselves in the chest, they were so depressed. Uzumaki Mito saw that Yefeng ignored her, and said anxiously, "Yefeng, hurry up, it's too late." Quote. The voice of the nine tails came directly from Uzumaki Mito's body, "Let me out." Quote. "Let you go, let me stay in it obediently." Yi Feng said, casually raised his right hand, and 5 different attributes of chakra appeared from his 5 fingers. This formation, Uzumaki Mito knew at a glance that it was a 5-element seal. When did Yi Feng play with the 5-element seal so skillfully? No, it's not a 5-element seal. Under the shocked look of Uzumaki Mito, Yokade's hand pressed on the seal. It's over. The reinforcement seal is not a 5-element seal. Quote. When Yefeng heard Uzumaki Mito's words, he was stunned for a moment and said, "Do you understand the sealing technique?" Quote. This is how the strongest of your Uzumaki clan, your former patriarch, Uzumaki Ashina's knowledge points, were taught. The best way to strengthen the seal is the 5-element seal plus elephant seal. You don't understand. Yi Feng's other hand opened the 4-elephant seal at the same time and pressed it again. The nine tails just laughed, thinking that Yefeng was going to help it open the seal, but after only 1 second of joy, it suddenly found itself bound by countless chains and dragged into the darkness. And the iron door that had already been opened, re-locked. And not 1 lock, but 3. The original seal, plus the 5 and 4 elephant seals newly added by Night Maple. Uzumaki Mito was stunned and instantly returned to his human form. That's all right. This is completely beyond the Uzumaki Mito view. She doesn't understand. Ju Shina saw that Uzumaki Mito had returned to normal, and quickly walked up. Grandma Mito, are you all right? Uzumaki Mito felt his body, shook his head and said, "It seems to be all right." Quote. She couldn't be sure if something was wrong with her now, because the 2 seals of Night Maple were beyond her comprehension. This is where to learn the superb sealing technique. In fact, it is no wonder that Uzumaki Mito does not understand, because this is the bottom of the press box of Uzumaki Ashina, and the sealing technique is also to be taught according to aptitude, and it is used according to the actual situation, and Uzumaki Ashina has not found a suitable successor with understanding, and it is not in the world. Uzumaki Mito, by contrast, has only learned the surface. Yefeng said again. Grandma Mito, the seal is reinforced now, but the nine-tailed chakra that you can borrow in the future will also be reduced. Quote. Uzumaki Mito nodded and said, it's okay. Quote. The second tail saw that the nine tails were almost about to break the seal, and they were sealed back in an instant, and they were so scared that they turned around and ran. This human being is too terrifying, and he can be wooden, and sealed, he is simply not a human. Now has already decided not to enter the land of fire one step in the future. However, as soon as the second tail turned his head to escape, Ju Shinai shouted angrily, King Kong blockade. Quote. Ju Shinai saw that he had been playing soy sauce for so long, and he was also embarrassed, and quickly used the secretary of the Uzumaki clan King Kong to blockade, and multiple chakra chains flew out from Ju Shinai's back, tying the two tails and brigades. Let go of me, human. Yi Feng said speechlessly. The IQ of animals is a little low, back and forth just these few words. Quote. Wei Yulu suddenly roared, who are you talking about? Quote. Saying that, the second tail and brigade suddenly became difficult, and Ju Shinai's face suddenly turned white. Yefeng was suddenly unhappy, his figure flashed, came to the front of the second tail brigade, and kicked over. Rumble. The huge mountain-like Wei brigade was directly kicked off the ground, stayed in the air for a moment, and then smashed down again. Bang. I just said what's wrong with you? Bang. You're not satisfied, are you? Bang. If you are a dog, you have to look like a dog. Yefeng held down the head of the second tail and brigade, smashed it 3 times in a row, and finally smashed into the ground. The second tail was prodded again, and did not dare to pull out his head at all. It said in an urn, I was wrong, big brother, I am a cat, not a dog. Whether it's a cat or a dog, you will give me obedience. Everyone present had a wonderful face. The strength of Yefeng was completely beyond their imagination. The Neo-Yugid, who was powerful enough to destroy Konoha, was actually defeated by 2 or 3 punches from Yifeng. Bofeng Shuaman glanced at Kimu Shuamao, and Kimu Shuamao was still a little stunned and said, look what I do, my specialty is assassination, Yefeng, this is a confrontation of absolute strength, I am not as good as him. Quote. Kimu Shuamao knew very well that if he encountered the two tails and brigade, he could escape, but it was impossible to fight with his fists. Bofeng Shuaman was unbalanced in his heart. Yi Feng's fist is also too hard, right? Then, in Bofeng Shuaman's mind, 3 generations of water shadow corpses appeared. Yi Feng's strength was too sudden. When Tuan Zhang and Mito Menyan saw such a situation, their expressions were very exciting, and they secretly retreated while Yefeng was not paying attention. There was also Xiaochun, who was completely afraid to shout, and secretly crawled out. Where did this night maple come from? How could it be so terrifying? He was able to enter the immortal mode, and he was able to use the forbidden technique of the first Hokage-sama. Now, Koharu regretted dying in his heart. She really didn't expect Yefeng to be so strong. If she knew this, she wouldn't mess with Yefeng to death. Now, Koharu feels that her life is threatened. However, Koharu crawled and ran into a person. Looking back, I was so frightened that my soul came out. Yefeng squatted down and looked at Xiaochun and said, what did you just say? Turning to sleep, Koharu looked at Yefeng with a terrified face, as if looking at a ghost, and kept backing away. Don't come here, help, where is the dark part? Just as Koharu was screaming, one by one, dark ninjas, wearing masks, appeared next to Kiki Shuamao and Wave Feng Shuaman. 2 adults, what's going on? Because Kimu Shuamao and Bofeng Shuaman actually have the identity of dark cadres, now the village is leaderless, and the dark ninjas are naturally headed by Kimu Shuamao and Bofeng Shuaman. They were all stunned when they looked at Xiaochun's very miserable appearance. This is one of the 2 elders of the Ministry of Administration, turning to sleep Koharu. They read that right, and that young man is Night Maple. Because this scene was too shocking, their dark ninja did not dare to act rashly at all. Bofeng Shuaman frowned and said, Yefeng, you listen to me, don't mess around. Quote. Shut up. Yefeng looked at Bofeng Shuaman coldly, and directly grabbed Xiaochun. Koharu hurriedly sealed his hands, but his hands were tied by the roots that came out. Kimu Shuamao also stood up and said, Ye Kaide, if you have anything, you can wait for Naruto-sama to come back and make a decision. Quote. Don't be impulsive. Impulsive. Ye Feng smiled and said, White Fang, what will happen to you if your son Kakashi is captured and wants to become a two-tailed human pillar force? Quote. Kimu Shuamao sighed and said, No matter what, you can't use lynching. Quote. Ye Feng smiled and said, I lynch. Do they deserve it? Quote. Saying that, Yokai directly threw Koharu in front of Neo. When Xiaochun looked up, he happened to meet the big round eyes of the second tail, and he was suddenly so frightened that his face turned pale, and he didn't dare to come out. And the second tail opposite her, looked at the night maple not far away, and also did not dare to come out. At the same time, Tuan Zhang and Mido Menyan, who were preparing to sneak people up, were also blocked by Yi Feng's doppelganger. Yi Feng, what are you doing? Tuanzhou roared angrily, looked at Ye Feng and said, Don't mess around, just now we also listened to the advice of Lord Uzumaki Mido, to protect Konoha, before opening the 4 purple flame array. Quote. Mido Menyan next to him also said, Yes, Ye Kaide, you are doing a little too much now, although Elder Koharu also has something wrong, but you can't do this to her. Ye Feng raised his hand, so frightened that Mido Menyan immediately shut up and made a counterfeit motion. At this time, the few ninjas of the administrative department, gathered behind Danzo and Mido Menyan, were all ninjas of the Mido clan and the dormitory clan. However, Yi Feng raised his hand, just touched his head, and said with a smile, The two don't need to be so nervous, I also want to ask the two of you, how exactly do you seal the two? Neo was brought by you. Quote. Tuan Zhang looked at Yi Feng quietly, thinking in his heart, Yi Feng is a medicine. Yi Feng said lightly, Do you want me, or go over by yourself? Quote. Be bold, pay attention to your tone. Quote. The ninja of the administrative department behind immediately cursed angrily. Shut up. Ye Feng raised his hand, and the ninja behind Mido Menyan was instantly wrapped in rice dumplings by tree roots and vines. Their eyes were not covered, showing a look of horror, and it was useless to constantly struggle. On Ju Shinai's side, Orwei lowered his head, looking at Ye Feng who didn't seem to notice him, and quickly pulled out his legs and ran. However, as soon as he turned around, his limbs were wrapped around tree roots and vines. Lying Groove, can you escape from such a distance? Now is depressed. At the same time, Ju Shinai used the King Kong blockade and once again tied the two tails in place. Lord Shuamao, what now? The dark ninja next to him asked softly. Watergate looked at Kimu Shuamao and said, Senior. Quote. Chimu Shuamao said in a deep voice, Let's take a look before speaking, it seems that Ye Feng still has reason and will not kill them. Quote. After a short silence, Danzo and Mido Menyan chose to relent and followed Yokai to the front of Neo. Uzumaki Mido snorted and said, Danzo, Mido Menyan, Sleep Koharu, you guys are so handsome. Quote. Danzo said respectfully, Uzumaki-sama, what do you mean by this? All this is with your consent. Quote. Ju Shinai suddenly said angrily, You guys are lying. Quote. Tuan Zhang glanced at Ju Shinai and said, Isn't it? Quote. Ye Feng suddenly smiled and said, You guys called Grandma Mido, that's right, now I subdued the two tails. Quote. Didn't you think Ju Shinai was very suitable to be a two-tailed human pillar force just now? Tuan Zhang quickly shook his head and said, I don't know anything. Quote. Yes, Yi Feng, your words are not right. What Uzumaki-sama wants to do, it's all her choice, what does it have to do with us? Mido Menyan and Bedtime Koharu also quickly dissociated themselves. Uzumaki Mido looked at them coldly. And Ju Shinai's chest heaved with anger, pointing at the three and saying, You guys are really calculating. Quote. Ye Feng stopped Ju Shinai and looked at them and said, I think you guys are actually quite suitable to be the two-tailed human pillar force. Quote. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the three instantly changed. Not only these three people, Kimu Shuamao, Bofeng Shuaman, all showed a surprised look. Even Ju Shina and Uzumaki Mido were unexpected. The three of them are human pillar power. I have to say that Yi Feng's imaginative move completely stunned them. Danzo, Mido Menyan, and Koharu all subconsciously took a few steps back, revealing a look of horror. Don't look at the human pillar force as very strong, but they are definitely not willing to be the human pillar force. Because when you become a human pillar force, you are not completely individual, and everyone's eyes on you will be completely different. The people of the family look at you completely differently. You are no longer human, but half human and half monster. Moreover, when the human pillar force, sooner or later, it will get out of control, and then it will be completely devoured by the tailed beast and become the nourishment of the tailed beast. At that point, you're a monster through and through. Besides, becoming a two-tailed human pillar force is equivalent to becoming a tool person in Konoha village, with no personal freedom at all, and is monitored at all times. Most importantly, they became pillars of power, and their political careers were definitely gone. Instead, it became the war machine of Konoha village. Who wants to have such a life? Yi Feng's thoughts now were not to let them die so easily. Planting two tails is like planting a bomb in them. This bomb will not hurt Yi Feng, but it can blow them to pieces and make them regret offending Yi Feng. Tuan Zhang coughed and said, Yi Feng, you can really joke, the ninja world has never been such an old person, Zhu Li. Quote. Mito Menyon also nodded and said, yes, we are not very suitable. Quote. Yi Feng looked at them with a smile and said, I said you are suitable, don't you want to choose the two-tailed human pillar force? That's it. Quote. We, Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu all had very ugly faces. Wei looked at the three old men, showed a look of disgust, and couldn't help but say, the smell of old age is too bad, I don't want it. Quote. Ye Feng kicked Wei and said, just you talk a lot of nonsense. Quote. Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu heard Neo's words, and their faces immediately turned happy. Yes, Yi Feng, did you hear that? We don't fit. Isn't there a newly captured young girl from the mist-hidden village, named Terumi? I think she can. Quote. Yi Feng smiled and said, if you don't choose, then I will choose. Quote. Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu suddenly showed angry looks on their faces. No one had ever disrespected them like Yokade. What did Yi Maple do with them? At this time, Kimu Shuamao and Bofeng Shuaman also inquired a little about what was going on, and they watched the excitement on the side. They are not fools either, and after a little thought, they know that it is the problem of Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu. Moreover, Kiki Shuo Shigeru has long been dissatisfied with the concept of Danzo, what dark roots, what can sacrifice everything for Konoha, is. It doesn't matter if you sacrifice him or not. Mito Menyon had a sense of foreboding, and quickly looked at Kiki Shuamao and said, Shuamao, is this how you dark sect treats us Konoha elders? Does Naruto-sama know? Quote. Kimu Shuamao coughed and said, Elder Menyon, now Ye Feng is solving the problem of the two-tailed beast. I think he is the most skilled sealer here, you see that he sealed the nine-tailed beast so simply solved. Quote. If Yorikide thinks you are suitable, for Konoha's sake, I think I can trust him. For Konoha, Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Kaharu looked angrily at Kiki Shuo. Kimu Shuamao, what do you mean? Watch your words and deeds. Quote. What for Konoha? We don't fit at all. Quote. This is how the Dark Division protects us Konoha. When Naruto-sama returns, I will cure you. Quote. Yi Feng smiled. He didn't expect that Kimu Shuamao was also an old yin-yang master, but how could such a person commit suicide in the near future because of gossip? I'm afraid it's really persecution. Well, I think he's right, don't you usually like to say it for Konoha? Today, you will sacrifice a little for Konoha. Quote. As soon as Yi Kaide's words fell, roots and vines immediately rose under Mito Menyon's feet, tying his limbs heavily and making him unable to move at all. Then Mito Menyon, I think you are very suitable, Ye Feng said, and raised his fist, for Konoha. Quote. Mito Menyon's eyes widened and he shouted in horror, no. I don't want it. Quote. The second tail also shouted, I don't want to enter this old man's body, I don't want it. Quote. Shut up. Yi Feng punched a strange fist and smashed the two tails into the ground again. Tuan Zhang was so frightened that he took 2 steps back, his face pale, but he did not dare to act rashly. Xiaochun even felt lucky in his heart, watching Ye Feng raise his right hand, and 5 fingers respectively appeared the 5 attributes of gold, wood, water, fire and earth, and inserted into Mito Menyon's stomach. The exclusive sealing rune of the Uzumaki clan immediately appeared on Mito Menion's stomach, which was very mysterious. Yi Feng, don't, you let me go, I promise you everything. Mito Menion roared in fear, and even begged Uzumaki Mito for mercy. Uzumaki-sama Mito, spare your life, I know it's wrong, just for the sake of Mr. Kuruma, spare me. Quote. Kushina saw Mito Menion's appearance, and his heart was very relieved. And Uzumaki Mito shook his head and said, Mito Menion, why are you getting older and less enlightened? I think White Fang is right, everything is for Konoha, the sacrifice you made is worth it. Quote. Ah! In the midst of Mito Menion's howl, Yefeng stuffed Neo's brigade directly into the sealing array of Mito Menion's stomach. However, Yi Feng added 2 layers of sealing techniques to this sealing array, which was equivalent to adding 2 layers of locks, which was very reliable. In this way, Mito Menion became a 2-tailed human pillar force, and it was almost impossible to use the kind of waste of the 2-tailed chakra. Everyone looked at Mito Menion and showed a very strange look. Mito Menion had just been let go, and suddenly roared and rushed towards Yi Feng. Yi Feng, I'm going to fight with you. Bang! In the next second, Mito Menion flew out upside down and hit the ground hard, his head covered in blood. But the wound quickly recovered. This is the human pillar force. But in Mito Monita's teeth, it became the same teeth as Neo Yugaku, just like a Yukai. When Koharu saw Mito Menion's appearance, he was glad in his heart. If he became a human pillar force, it would be miserable. At this time, Xiaochun's mind suddenly echoed Yi Feng's words, today, I will kill you. Ideographic period. Yefeng won't want to kill me, right? Thinking of this, Xiaochun suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, a Vajra rod fell from the sky, separating the 2 sides. When Xiaochun saw that the ape flying sun was coming, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief and shouted, Ape Fly, you are finally here. Quote. Ape Fei Ri looked at the completely destroyed training ground and frowned, what is going on? Quote. Sure enough, it was Yi Feng's wooden escape. Will he use immortal magic wood to escape? Sarutobi looked at Yi Kaide, listening to sleeping Koharu crying and accusing Yi Feng. Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Konoha also came, and when they saw Yokkade, their expressions were different. The eyes of the big snake pill were full of longing. The stronger Yefeng was, the more he wanted Yefeng's blood to do research. What genetic material in the blood made Yefeng so powerful? Jiraiya was also thinking about whether the appearance of the night maple was a blessing or a curse for Konoha. If it is a disaster, even if he fights for his life, he must solve the hidden danger of Yi Feng. As for Tsunade, the mood is very mixed. Yi Feng's style of doing things is fundamentally different from that of the Thousand Hands clan. Whether it is grandpa or second grandfather, there is no such irritability as Yi Feng. Is it really good that the future of the Thousand Hands clan is handed over to Yi Feng? Listening to Koharu's crying, Sarutobi smiled bitterly. Yi Feng, this guy, is doing things too non-mainstream, and actually injected the second tail and brigade into Mito Menion and turned it into a human pillar force. Young people are too cranky. But there was another voice in Ape Fei Richo's heart that said, this is the right thing to do. He didn't know when he had already felt that Mito Menitis and Koharu had changed and become as dark as Danzo. Now he was put up by Yi Feng, and he came to cry with himself. Ape Fei Ri sighed and said, I knew this earlier, why bother? Koharu and Mizuto Menion were stunned. Sarutobi, what did you say? Mito Menion's face was very ugly, and he glared at the ape flying sun. Ape Fei Ri shook his head helplessly. Are you glaring at me useful? Yi Feng's doing this is indeed excessive, but isn't your approach even more excessive? He even started the idea of Uzumaki Mito and Kushina. This is completely self-inflicted death. What's more, I'm afraid I can't limit Yefeng now. Ape Fei Ri recalled the thousand-handed giant Buddha that covered the sky just now, and his heart was still full of shock. Suddenly I felt really old. Sarutobi looked at Mito Menion and said, Menion, if it doesn't happen, it happens, you can feel at ease to be a human pillar force, we Konoha will not treat you badly. Quote. Mito Menion's eyes were bloodshot, forget about it. Quote. Yi Feng, you have indeed overdone, although Elder Menion has something wrong with him, but he is an elder of Konoha after all. Yi Feng nodded and said, well, I think the 3 generations of Hokage are right, everyone is for Konoha, Elder Minion, you can sacrifice for Konoha. Quote. Saying that, Yefeng turned around and took Ju Shinai's soft little hand and said, let's go home. Quote. Ju Shina immediately said, Grandma Mito, let's go home. Quote. Uzumaki Mito nodded, glanced at Sarutobi Hinata, and immediately followed Yokade and Ju Shinai. Ape Fei, are you going to let him go? Ape Fei, you have seen it, he is so arrogant. Ape Fei, I want an explanation, otherwise, we are not finished. Sarutobi Hinata looked at Danzo, Mito Monita, and Kaharu and said, I also want an explanation. Quote. Why did Uzumaki-sama let you open the 4 purple flame array inside, but you didn't open it? Why are you 2 elders no longer in the administration department, and you can still command the administration department? Why was the seal of the 2 tails artificially unsealed? Sarutobi looked at the 3 who did not speak, snorted and said, it is said that it is for Konoha, so now, when you need to contribute and sacrifice for Konoha, don't complain. Quote. Tuan Zhang gritted his teeth, leaned in front of Ape Flying Sun, and whispered, there is nothing wrong with everything the old man has done. Quote. If this continues, Konoha will not be the Konoha of all of us, but the Konoha of the Senju clan. At that time, was Konoha still Konoha? Sarutobi looked at Tuanzo coldly and said, Tuanzang, don't forget, Konoha was originally established by the Senju clan, and the 2 teachers are from the Senju clan, don't be ungrateful. Quote. After speaking, Ape Fei re-turned his head and left. However, along the way, Ape Fei re-listened to the news that the Dark Department kept transmitting, and his face became more and more shocked. Yefeng single-handedly sealed the 9 tails and the second tails. The 3 generations of Water Shadow died in the hands of Yifeng, and the corpses were all brought back. The 3 shinobi were all on the side, stunned when they heard the news. Is Night Maple so strong? Back home, after Uzumaki Mito entered his room, Yefeng looked at Ju Shinai and directly hugged Ju Shinai into his arms. This time, it really scared Ju Shinai. The feeling like a roller coaster made him take the initiative to raise his head and offer his hot kiss to Yifeng. First, the dragonfly points water and pecks gently. Then there was the storm. For a long time, Ju Shinai's face was full of shame, and he pushed Yefeng away, I'm going to sleep. Quote. With that, Ju Shinai ran into his room, slammed the door, and closed the door. Ju Shinai was still thinking about whether Yefeng would resist or not if she wanted to chase into the room. However, after a while, Ju Shinai secretly opened a little crack in the door, and Yefeng had disappeared. HMPH, pig's head. Men are big pigs trotters. Quote. At this time, Yifeng, in his room, opened the character attributes, replaced the character card, and replaced the character card with an S-class character card, the original Water White Lotus. The properties now are: Name, Yi Kaide, Strength, Super Shadow Level, Position, Special Shinobi, Character Cards, SSS Level Hand Pillars, Fusion Degree 100%, S-Class Original Water Shadow White Lotus, Fusion Degree 10%. Blood Succession Limit, God Level Mudden, Ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God Art LV3, Dirt Reincarnation LV3, Thunder Thousand Birds LV3, Omorenka LV3, Yin Seal LV3, Hyakuno Jutsu LV3, 4 Elephant Seal LV3, Ghoul Seal LV3, Harem Art LV, Shuriken Shadow Avatar Art L3. After replacing Uzumaki Ashina's character card, Night Fang's sealing level immediately returned to its original state. But with the original Water Shadow White Lotus, Yefeng learned all the ninjutsu of the original Water Shadow White Lotus, and the most skilled one was Shui Duan, which is the tradition of Wuyin Village. Water Shadow is the strongest water ninja in Mist Hidden Village. Night Maple jumped from the window and disappeared into the night sky. Bang! Harem Art. Yi Feng's harem technique is not tempting, but used to confuse people. Yi Feng's doppelganger, transformed into a fair beauty wearing a black tights, suddenly appeared on the way to the territory of the dormitory in the training ground. Then, Yorikid saw Kaharu come over under the protection of several young ninjas in the clan. Xiaochun was still saying, give me a good eye on Yefeng these days. Suddenly, these young ninjas saw the scenery ahead, and they were all stunned. They were all young and vigorous men, and when they saw Yi Feng's harem doppelganger, they naturally couldn't help it. And Yi Feng's doppelganger smiled, swung his seductive posture, and walked towards them. Kaharu frowned, always feeling a little strange. Be careful. Yes, Elder Kaharu. At this moment, Yi Feng's doppelganger suddenly struck. Water escape. Water iron cannon. I saw Yi Kaide make his hand into a pistol-like shape, shooting a liquid like a bullet from the tip of his index finger, instantly penetrating Xiaochun's body. Xiaochun's eyes widened, looking at Yi Feng. His body fell directly backwards, and blood splattered. Immediately afterwards, the ninjas of these families roared, "There are killers!" Quote. They instantly attacked towards the Night Maple doppelganger, and Ku Wu, shuriken in his hand, flew out and pierced the body of the Night Maple doppelganger. Bang! The shadow doppelganger is shattered. This is the shadow doppelganger. Suddenly, countless black tight-clad women appeared in all directions, shooting indiscriminately at Xiaochun. Xiaochun's eyes widened, and countless water and iron cannons were reflected in his pupils. Her body, like a tattered burlap bag, was instantly pierced. Blood splattered all over the young people, and their eyes widened. There are killers. Come on. Quote. At the same time, they lifted up Xiaochun, who was completely breathless. At this moment, they all panicked in their hearts. Elder Kaharu actually died. Just around the corner in the shadows, a figure gradually disappeared. As I said, today, I will kill you. Quote. Yi Feng's figure had just disappeared, and the wave feng shui gate arrived immediately. Elder Kaharu was attacked. What the hell is going on here? Those panicked family ninjas were describing Yokade's harem technique. It's a woman in a black tights who used the shadow doppelganger to kill Elder Kaharu. She used water-done ninjutsu, which was shot with her fingers, like a pistol. Bofeng Shuaman looked at the scene, touched the water traces on the ground with his hand, and sniffed it. It is indeed a water escape. Bofeng Shuaman's first reaction was night maple. But it was completely different from the description of the family ninja present. A water ninja, could it be the revenge of the misty hidden village? But why did he take revenge on Kaharu? Bofeng Shuaman had no clue at all, so he could only dispose of Kaharu's body and immediately return to the Hokage's office to report. Tonight, for the ape flying sun, it is a sleepless night. Hokage office. Snap. Tuan Zhang slapped the chair on the chair, looked at Ape Fei with anger on his face and said, Ape Fei, Elder Kaharu died like this. Quote. It must have nothing to do with Yi Feng. Zilai couldn't help but say. Elder Tuanzang, just now Watergate also said that the assassin used Shui Duan, and it is likely to be the secret art of the Ghost Lamp clan of Wuyin Village, the Iron Cannon technique. How can it be related to Yi Feng? Quote. Although Zilai also did not have much good impression of Yi Feng, Tuanzang's prejudice made Zilai couldn't help but complain. Elder Xiaochun just offended Yi Feng, and he was on the street. Do you say it will matter? Just look it up. Quote. Just let Yi Feng do something wrong. Where is the face of our high level? When he said this, his eyes were gloomy, staring at the ape flying sun. Mito Menyon, who was sitting next to him, also had a low gaze and did not say a word. On the other side, Konoha Sanshin was sitting, also very quiet, watching the bustle of Mito Menyon and Danzo. They were all curious about what the teacher would do. Sarutobi sat on the main throne, although his hair had begun to turn a little gray now, but the ape flying sun chop at this time was the pinnacle of his ninja career. This ninja doctor's body is still at the peak of his prime, and at the same time, the combat experience accumulated over the years can exert more than 100% of his strength, so he can compete with the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow. At this time, Ape Fei Richo was still looking at the report, frowned, and raised his head to look at Tuan Zhang. So what do you mean? Ape Fei Ri sat up straight, looked at Tuan Zhang and did not flinch at all. Mito Menyon said in a deep voice, what does it mean not to mean? Ye Feng did this, it is completely a bully act, get a little power, think that you can do whatever you want. What is the difference between this and Uchiha back then? Quote. If you don't subdue him now, in the future, the whole Konoha will not be the current Konoha. He will be the next Uchiha Madara. Leave him in Konoha, he will destroy the whole of Konoha. Tsunade couldn't help but interrupt Mito Menyon's words. Ahem, Elder Menyon, your words are too exaggerated. How can Ye Feng Hode be comparable to Uchiha Madara? Quote. Mito Menyon stared at Tsunade and said, Tsunade Haim, I'm telling the truth, a kind person, will you inject Neo into me? Quote. Tsunade shrugged and said, why not? Ye Feng not only inherited the wooden dun of our Senju family, but also inherited the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, and is a peerless genius. Quote, he thinks that Elder Menyon, your body is suitable, that is the opinion of professionals. You usually say that for Konoha, you can sacrifice everything. How come it came to you, it changed? Tsunade you. Mito Menyon was furious, and the evil two-tailed Shikara in his body couldn't help but pop up. His eyes turned into cat's eyes, sharp teeth, very hideous and terrifying. Danzo was suddenly frightened by Mito Menyon, and quickly stood up and took 2 steps back. Menyon, you sober up. Ape Flying Sun Chopper suddenly appeared in front of Mito Menyon, and the 5 fingers of his right hand erupted out 5 kinds of chakra of gold, wood, water, fire and earth, directly inserting the seal. 5-element seal. Mito Menyon's body emitted a roar of the 2 tails and brigades, and then the blue chakra on the surface of Mito Menyon's body was all recycled into the body. Ape Fei sighed and said, Menyon, you go back first, your current appearance is not suitable. Quote, Mito Menyon's face was full of sadness and indignation, took a deep breath, stood up, walked out, and at first glance at the back, he felt 10 years older in an instant. He had already expected it when he became the 2-tailed human pillar force himself. As long as there are 2 tails in his body, there will continue to be such a situation of getting out of control today. What elders, what advisors, overnight, nothing. When people look at themselves, they will only think that they are not a monster. Finally restrained, surveilled. Night maple is too poisonous. As soon as Mito Menyon left, Ape Fei slashed at the Big Snake Pill and said, Big Snake Pill, order the Dark Department to keep an eye on Elder Menyon. He has just become a human pillar force, and his mood is still a little unstable, so he can avoid hurting others. Quote, yes, teacher. Then, Sarutobi Richo glanced at Tuanzo again and said, Tuanzo, everything you just said is your own speculation. What Uchiha spot? He is not a Uchiha clan, he will not be like Mr. Kuruma said. Quote, Tsunade nodded and said, the teacher is right, Yefeng is my grandfather's bloodline inheritance, and at the same time learned the most exquisite sealing technique of the Vortex clan. This time it was the second tale that you brought back by Elder Tuanzo lost control and almost caused a catastrophe. Quote, if it weren't for Yokade's move, I don't know how much Konoha would have suffered. Danzo's chest heaved with anger, and he looked at Tsunade and said, if it weren't for Ikaide's move, we could also seal it. You look at the field north of the training ground, it's all destroyed. Quote, HMPH, Elder Tuanzang, do you know the sealing technique? Do you take a head to seal? Quote, quote, Ape Flying Sun Chopper interrupted the 2 and said, enough, Tuanzang, your prejudice against Yefeng is too great, let's take a look at this. Quote, saying that, Ape Flying Sun Chopper threw the information of Yifeng's killing of 3 generations of Water Shadow in front of Tuanzang. Tuanzang picked up the information with an ugly face, and his face suddenly changed. After a full 10 minutes, Tuanzang looked back and forth at the information, snorted and said, I understand, leave. Quote, Sarutobi sighed, looked at Jiraiya and Tsunade and said, you guys go back too. Quote, yes, teacher. Only one person was left in the office. Ape Fei said to himself to the void, Pillar Sensei, I don't want to hide and die, but he has already entered the evil path. Yi Feng's figure flashed, returned to his room, looked up, and found that there was a person outside the door. When I opened the door, I saw that it was Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Yokade and said, not sleeping. Quote, well, Grandma Mito, what's wrong? Uzumaki Mito looked at Yefeng quietly for a second before saying, you did a good job today, don't worry. Quote, Yefeng smiled, he hadn't been worried. He just didn't want to kill Mito Menyon and Danzo so easily. Killing them like this, and all the evil deeds they had done before would probably dissipate invisibly, and no one would know about it again. What Yokade wants is to expose all the things that Mito Menyon and Danzo have done in Konoha over the years to the sun. Let everyone in Konoha know, let them be ruined, and nailed to the pillar of shame forever. I understand what you're thinking, Ape Flying Sun / will give us a satisfactory result. Yi Kaide was stunned for a moment. At this time, Uzumaki Mito was still looking forward to the Ape Flying Sun. As Hokage, Lord of Konoha, but indecisive. He could even let go of the Big Snake Pill because of the feelings of his master and apprentice, and let his old friend Tuanzo do those dirty things because of the friendship between his old friends for many years. Seeing that Yokai didn't believe it, Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, wait. Quote. In this way, Uzumaki Mito dropped such an inexplicable word and left. Early the next morning, Yefeng was woken up by Ju Shinai again. Unexpectedly, it was the ape-flying sun. As soon as ape-flying Richo saw Yifeng, he opened the door and invited Yifeng to join the administration department, and directly parachuted into the head of the administration department. Hey, Elder Akamichi Takakaza's health has suddenly deteriorated and he can't manage the administration department. I think it's time to give it to the young man to exercise. What do you think? At the same time, due to the insufficient number of high-level officials in the Dark Department, Ape-Flying Sun hopes that Yefeng will hold 2 positions and serve as the deputy head of the Dark Department at the same time, and he can organize a detachment. And now the minister of the Dark Department is none other than the White Fang banner Mushuo Shigeru. Ding, based on the existing situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1. Refuse all of Ape Richo's invitations and be a salted fish at home. Reward. Danzo K's Ninjutsu, full series. Option 2. Decline one of the invitations of the Ape Sun / Reward, Akamichi Clan Secret Art, Multiplication Technique. Option 3. Agree to all the invitations of Saruta. Rewards. Clues of the guilt evidence of the group, ultra-long-range video recorder. Yifeng looked at these 3 choices and said lightly, okay, I promise you. Quote. Although the art of multiplication is attractive, Tuanzang's evil evidence clues and ultra-long-range video recorder are what Yefeng needs most now. This ultra-long-range video recorder is very small, similar to the video recorder in Earth time. There is also a description that this ultra-long-range video recorder is the latest black technology product of Air Shinobi. Images up to 1000 meters can be recorded, the only drawback is that the maximum time is 10 minutes. It seems that the technology in the Hokage world is not as low as Yefeng imagined. Before leaving, Sarutobi sighed and said, Yifeng, I hope you can understand that I, as the Hokage, are balancing the 2 ends of the balance all the time. Quote. Sometimes you have to lean to the side, which is also unacceptable. In short, from today onwards, you are the person hand-picked by my ape-flying son. When the ape flew away for half a day, Yefeng figured it out. The ape-flying son chopped this old thief, not indecision, but a name. Afraid of his own reputation, he likes to borrow the hands of others. Killing his classmates, ape-flying son chopper can't bear to do it himself. Ape-flying sun chopper has already handed the knife to Yifeng. As for whether to kill or not, it is Yifeng's matter, and ape-flying sun chopper does not know anything. It's really cunning. Yifeng has 2 positions. No, it is 1 body and 3 positions. Because in addition to the newly appointed head of the administration department and the deputy minister of the Dark Department, at the ninja school, Yokai is still the vice principal and the teacher of the 7th class. Yefeng felt a little difficult for this. I don't want to go to work. Ju Shinai cried and laughed, and poked Yefeng with his green fingers. You slacker. Yefeng backhanded Ju Shinai into his arms. I'm not lazy, I don't think I have time to accompany you. Look, the administrative department, the dark department, the school, everywhere needs me. Do I have 3 heads and 6 arms? I don't want to work overtime every day and stay up all night. Ju Shinai was in Yifeng's arms, and said with a blushing face, that's the same, if only you could be separated. Quote. Doppelganger. When Yefeng heard Ju Shinai's words, he was slightly stunned, and then showed a look of joy. Yes, doppelganger. Ju Shinai, you really are Wangfu. Quote. Yefeng grabbed Ju Shinai and kissed her deeply. Woohoo. Ju Shinai suddenly softened in Yifeng's arms. For a long time, Ju Shinai blushed and pushed Yifeng away. What are you doing? Grandma Mito saw it all. Quote. Yifeng smiled and said, then let's go out. Quote. You really don't go to work, as Naruto-sama said just now, you have to go to the administration department to report in the morning. Yifeng said with a smile on his face. Go, why don't you go? Quote. Saying that, the night maple made a seal. Bang. There are 2 more shadow doppelgangers behind him. You look at me, I look at you. No, there's 1 less. Bang. There is another shadow avatar, a total of 3 shadow avatars. Ju Shinai, you have to remind me that the shadow avatar is okay. For others, it was a little difficult to maintain the shadow doppelganger at the same time for a long time, but for Yifeng, it was nothing at all. Shadow doppelgangers use chakra to create physical doppelgangers who can act and think like the caster, and have a consciousness independent of the caster's body. That's fine. You, go to the administration department to report. You, go to the dark department to report. You, go to school to report. The three shadow doppelgangers looked at their real bodies speechlessly. What about you? Quote. Of course, I accompanied Ju Shinai to go shopping. Ju Shinai suddenly rolled her eyes speechlessly, but her heart was sweet. Yi Feng's doppelganger one came to the school, and Bofeng Shuaman specially came to find it. Yi Fengjun, congratulations on your promotion to the head of the administration department. And the deputy minister of darkness. Quote. Bofeng Shuaman, who is also the deputy minister of the dark department, is naturally aware of Yi Feng's current position changes. After all, it is the secret service organization of the dark department and Konoha. Teacher Zilai said, if you are busy, you can come less from the school, or I will bring the 7th class. Yi Feng glanced at Bofeng Shuaman and said, no, you are not very lucky. Quote. Bofeng Shuaman was stunned for a moment, puzzled. How did Yi Feng see that he was unlucky? Yi Feng also subconsciously said such words, but when he thought about it, there was nothing wrong at all. You look at the original, Kakashi, Obito, doesn't it become a tragedy? Even if Obito is whitewashed, it cannot change the fact of the tragedy. In the end, Obito and Rin met both spiritually, and they didn't know if it was Obito's own imagination. And in the Nine Tails Rebellion, he died directly with Ju Shinai. This is simply a lone star. On the contrary, Naruto did not have him, but he went all the way, relying on his mouth to overcome strong enemies, and finally became the 7th generation Hokage. Sometimes, luck is such a mystery. In any case, Yi Feng was unwilling to hand over the 7th shift to Watergate. Although this is only Yi Feng's doppelganger, it is completely consistent in terms of ideas and thinking. Teacher Yi Feng. Yokai turned his head and saw that it was the 3 elementary school students of the 7th class, Obito, Kakashi, and Rin. You're here. Yi Feng took out the teacher's manual and glanced at it. What you should do now as a teacher is, summarize the last task. Well, this suggestion is good. Ape Flying Sun to cut this thief old man, it is still a little material. So Yi Feng closed the book and said, then let's review. The last mission, from the beginning, your first encounter with the enemy, and your later performance, it can be said that the progress has been very great. Quote. I still remember when you first killed that misty shinobu with soil, it was miserable. Teacher. Obito suddenly blushed. This is simply Obito's black history. Kakashi and Rin both laughed. Teacher, don't talk about this in the future, please. Obito looked at Yi Feng, gritting his teeth. My grand Uchiha new generation is carrying the handle. If this matter is spread, won't it be laughing to death? At the dark department headquarters, White Fang patted the shoulder of Yi Feng doppelganger 2 and said, I have a new mission to perform. Fortunately you are here. Maybe half an hour later, I will not be here. This is your token, representing the power of the dark department high level. Quote. Inside Konoha, there is no obstruction. Yi Feng nodded and took the token. White Fang smiled and said, go back quickly. In case the doppelganger is broken, the token will be dropped. Quote. Yi Feng looked at White Fang in surprise. You see my doppelganger? Quote. White Fang laughed and said, if I can't see the doppelganger, can I still be this dark minister? Boy, you underestimate me too much. Quote. After that, White Fang walked out. Yi Feng looked at the white-toothed fire shadow half-sleeve, slightly lost in thought. Konoha White Fang, worthy of the name. But such a character would commit suicide. Wouldn't it be this mission? White Fang Senpai. White Fang walked to the door and stopped. Quote. Yi Feng didn't know what to say, so he had to say, safe journey. If there is anything, you can always find me. Quote. Got it. White Fang waved his hand and left the headquarters. Night Fang's doppelganger 3 came to the administration department. On the first floor, it was all empty, just 2 people. When they saw Yi Feng coming, they were slightly stunned, took a closer look, and quickly stood up. Lord Yi Feng, you are here. Early in the morning, the 2 were notified that Akamichi, who had just taken office, was now undergoing emergency treatment due to a recurrence of his injury and was unable to work, so he had to step down. The new minister is Yifeng. Just the two of you. Lord Yefeng, I don't know, or should I take you to the office first? Yefeng nodded politely and said, okay, it's troublesome. Quote. The two of them secretly breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. It seemed that Lord Yefeng was not as difficult to get along with as rumored. Then, Yi Kaide was taken to the second floor. The location on the second floor is also empty. Nima, what about people? Yefeng looked left and right. Why was there no one? This tea is too weird, right? As soon as I sat down, things came. Lord Yefeng, here is the mission document of Wuyin Village. Mission documents for the Village of Mist. Yifeng glanced at it and was slightly stunned. Because of the time of death of the third generation of Water Shadow, Kirahide Village specially sent an embassy to Konoha Village. No wonder the old monkey wants to send himself to parachute into the administrative department. He is the one who slashed and killed 3 generations of Water Shadows, and he is the most qualified of all people to deal with this matter. The document says that they want to retrieve the bodies of the 3 generations of Water Shadow in Wuyin Village, and also bring back the descendants of nobles. At the same time, I want to take this opportunity to express my friendship with Konoha, and plan to organize a joint exam for Chinese ninja. Of course, this Zongnan exam is equivalent to a gambling battle. If the Wuyin Village wins, retrieve the corpse of the 3 generations of Water Shadow and take back the descendant of the nobility. If Wuyin Village loses, it will also retrieve the corpses of the 3 generations of Water Shadow and take back the noble descendant Zhao Meiyu, but it will have to pay a big price. This is, of course, the idea of the Misty Hidden Village. Konoha's side naturally has its own ideas. The two sides did not agree on their ideas, so the mission of Wuyin Village had to come. Because now the initiative is on Konoha's side. Yefeng killed 3 generations of Water Shadow, and now the dragons in Wuyin Village are leaderless, and this is the biggest initiative. Yi Kaide knocked on the table, the Naka Shinobi exam. This reminds Yefeng of the Chunin exam of the original work, isn't it a chaos of Aikyo Shozuru? During that Zongnan exam, the old monkey of Ape Fei was stabbed to death by his apprentice Orochimaru. Wuyin Village, this is obviously trying to take revenge and do something. Does this document still need to be delivered to me? Just times. Then, Yokade wrote a comment on it. There is no place in Konoha to hold the Chunin exam, and if you go to fight, you can go to the Mist Hidden Village to fight, which can also show the friendship of the Mist Hidden Village. Quote. However, the document was quickly pushed in front of Yifeng. Lord Yokade, this document is not for you to cross, it is for you to execute, Naruto-sama has agreed. Yefeng was speechless. It turned out that he didn't let himself decide. It seems that the old monkey has a glorious tradition of dying of his own. Lord Yifeng, the people from the Mist Yin Village mission are coming in the afternoon. Now the time is a bit urgent. Quote. Time is urgent. Where do we have people now? Quote. It's almost 12 noon. No one has come to work yet. What the hell is going on today? After a while, the Night Maple Shadow doppelganger finally figured out what was going on. Most of the people in the administration department have taken leave today. These people are all members of the Mito clan and the Dormitory clan, as well as the Shimura clan, and other clans who have a good relationship with these 3 families. Simply put, it's a relationship. These related households, headed by Shinto and Ryosuke Mito, are the leaders of the younger generation of the sleeping transition family and the Mito family, respectively, and are the deputy of the former minister Akamichi Takefu. Today they learned that Yefeng parachuted into the administrative department, served as the minister, and immediately took all leave. And the 2 people on the first floor just now are just ordinary families, there is no backstage, and they dare not ask for leave for the sake of livelihood. Yefeng thought about it a little and understood. The 3 major families want to directly paralyze the administrative department, make Yefeng ugly, disgust Yefeng, and let the entire village of Konoha Village know that Yefeng is not capable of managing the administrative department. Want to me? The Night Maple Shadow doppelganger immediately thought of a countermeasure. Isn't it a lack of people? 10 more doppelgangers. Not enough for 10 doppelgangers. 20 is enough. Yifeng, is it really okay? Yefeng was holding Ju Shinai's small hand and was walking on the street. Actually, there aren't many places to visit in Konoha, after all, it's a ninja village. Yi Kaide felt that the life of a wood ninja was really not rich enough and too monotonous. Suddenly, Yifeng stood still. Zhu Xinai was stunned for a moment, frowned and said, Yifeng, what's wrong? Quote. Yifeng smiled. Just now, after his doppelganger in the administration department was naturally lifted, the memory of the doppelganger returned to the body, and he knew what was going on in the administration department. It's okay, wait for me. Yifeng's hands were sealed, and he chanted in his mouth, how long can the card not change those new suns? Quote. Bang. Hundreds of doppelgangers immediately appeared around him. You're here, no one is in the administration department, and I'm afraid you'll take a leave of absence. If you don't come on leave, fire all the squid. Zhu Xinai was slightly stunned, and saw that these hundreds of doppelgangers, under the command of Yifeng, ran away. Passers-by looked at hundreds of exactly the same night maples, and they were also confused. Yifeng didn't pay much attention, pulled Zhu Xinai and said, let's go. Quote. Zhu Xinai looked at Yifeng curiously, and suddenly said, Yifeng, or you can teach me the sealing technique. Quote. Okay. Yifeng immediately changed to the name of the S-grade thing card Vortex Ashi. As for the character card of the original Water Shadow White Lotus, it is temporarily pressed to the bottom of the box. Now that Kaharu's death is basically it. If you don't get it right, you can still lead to the Wuyin village mission. These 100 doppelgangers soon became administration. The remaining 2 people, seeing 100 night maples, were all stunned. Is this a shadow avatar? Lord Yifeng is too powerful. Sure enough, the strong can solve any problem. The first thing that 100 Yifeng did when they came to the administration department was to say in unison, where is the personnel list? Since they don't come today, they won't use it tomorrow. Quote. Lord Yifeng, this is not okay. Yifeng smiled and said, what's bad? Since you don't come to work, there is no need to waste wages. Quote. Without them, would Konoha be destroyed? Not necessarily. Quote. Soon, the Hokage office, Sarutobi Hinata also knew about the situation on the side of the Ministry of Administration. After all, the administration department is downstairs. The Hokage office is on the highest floor of the Hokage building. Ape Fei shook his head with a smile. Okay, let him decide. After all, I said that the administration department will be handed over to him after that, but you can't backtrack now. Quote. Besides, the Shunyan family and the Mito family, as well as the Shimura family, it's time to knock on it, and actually do something that harms Konoha's interests in order to vent their anger. At this time, Shinto, Ryosuke Mito, Ken Shimura of the Shimura family, and young talents from several other families were drinking at the tavern. Ryosuke Mito took a sip of wine and said, HMPH, Naruto-sama really can't see the situation clearly. Quote. The person next to him nodded and agreed. That's it, how can he be able to sit in the position of the head of the administration department? Quote. Sleep to sleep. Jundo was silent, blindly drinking. Everyone knew that yesterday night there was a big earthquake. Xiaochun, the elder of the clan, died tragically in front of his home, and heard that it was killed by a female spy from Wuyin village. Now the murderer is completely nowhere to be found. In fact, discerning people could see that it was extremely likely that this matter was done by Yifeng, but they couldn't find evidence. Xiaochun died so depressed. The sleeping family is equivalent to being slapped fiercely, but there is no way to resist. The Mito family is in a similar situation, and their face is lost. On the other hand, Yifeng, overnight, the fish jumped over the dragon gate, not only became the deputy minister of the dark department but also parachuted into the administrative department. This made the 3 major families completely unacceptable. However, in the face of Hokage's orders, they could not openly resist, so they all took leave. Just when the Wuyin village delegation came to visit, there was no one in the administrative department, and naturally the most humiliating person was the newly airborne minister Yifeng. At that time, things are messed up. Even Naruto-sama, there is no reason to continue to let Hokage stay in the administration department. At this moment, 2 black-clothed ninjas suddenly broke in. Ryosuke-sama, Mato-sama, they are the ninjas of the dormitory family and the Mito family, respectively. They whispered 2 words in the ears of Ryosuke Mito and Shinto respectively, and their faces suddenly changed. Turning sleep, Shinto held the wine glass in his hand and threw it directly to the ground angrily. Yifeng, this dog thief. When the others saw Zhuan Jundo like this, they suddenly had a sense of foreboding in their hearts. What's wrong, Madu-kun? What the hell is going on? Turning to sleep with a black face, he said the matter that Yefeng fired their squid. The expressions on all of their faces stiffened. They were still scolding Yifeng just now, but now they were being opposed by Yifeng. Ryosuke-kun, Shinto-kun, so what do we do now? Now go back to the administration department, is it too faceless? But if you don't go back, Yefeng really fired his own squid, what should I do? After all, Yifeng, as a minister, does have the power to fire them because of it. Now, even Shinto and Ryosuke Mito regretted it in his heart. They didn't expect Yi Maple to be so strong. These related households did not struggle for long, and one by one they could only lower their proud heads and go back to the administration department. As a result, when they returned to the entrance of the administrative department, they were blocked by the two Night Maple Shadow doppelgangers guarding the door. Aren't you asking for leave? Please come back, you don't have to come over tomorrow. Quote. If you can't go, if you don't go, then I will ask you to go. Now Yifeng didn't bother to talk nonsense with this group of people, and directly used Mu Duan, tied them all up, and threw them out. Oops, Yokade, you wait, I'm going to sue Naruto-sama. You wait for Yifeng. The two Night Maple Shadow doppelgangers at the door smiled disdainfully and said, you guys go. Quote. At this time, on the second floor of the administration department, there was a group of strange visitors. It was the mission from Wuin village. They had also just arrived in Konoha village and were invited here. There are only 4 people in this mission, led by the strongest of the younger generation of Wuin village, Citrus Yakura, who is also the candidate for the 4th generation of Water Shadow with the highest voice in Wuin village. If Citrus Yakura succeeds in bringing back the 3rd generation Water Shadow corpse this time, it should become the 4th generation of Water Shadow. With such a level of envoys, Hokage personally came to receive it. It was still a bit of a drop in points. As the head of the administration department and the deputy minister of the dark department, Yifeng's identity is just right. Moreover, Yefeng is still the one who killed the 3 generations of Water Shadow. The ninjas sent by the mist-hidden village this time are probably not convinced, just so that Yefeng can frustrate their spirit. In the office of the administration department, Citrus Yakura looked unhappy, slapped the table hard, and stared at the Night Maple Shadow doppelganger in front of him. Where is Hokage? We came from far away from the mist-hidden village, is this how you Konoha entertain guests? Quote. Yifeng sat on the chair and looked at the Wuin village mission indifferently and said, sit first, the Hokage is not something you can see casually, this time I will talk about things, it is up to me to talk to you. Quote. You're coming to talk to me. Who are you? Quote. If it weren't for the fact that this was the Hokage building, Citrus Yakura would have made a move. As the young and strongest of the mist-hidden village, he came to Konoha village this time, and he was very dissatisfied in his heart. The 3rd generation of Mizukage was too spicy chicken and died at the hands of an unknown Konoha ninja. Now he has to come and retrieve the body in such humiliation. Moreover, the chosen daughter of Wuin village, Zhao Meiyu, was also robbed. This is simply a shame for the misty hidden village, a shame within a shame. Yokade looked at Citrus Yakura with a smile and said, oh, you don't know who I am. Quote. Did I just forget to introduce it? Under the Night Kaide, the head of the administration department, the deputy minister of the dark department, and the vice principal of the ninja school. The person who killed the 3 generations of Water Shadow is me. Do you think I am qualified to talk to you? As soon as Yefeng finished speaking, the misty ninja led by Citrus Yakura was suddenly furious. It's you. Citrus Yakura was still able to control his anger, but the 3 people behind him couldn't bear it. Wait a minute. Citrus Yakura still had reason, but he couldn't stop the 3 people behind him from making a move. Shui Dun Bow Strike. Water Blade Slash. Water Prison Art. Yifeng smiled and said, a group of local chickens and dogs. Quote. As soon as the words fell, the entire Hokage building boomed, and countless huge roots and vines suddenly drilled out from under the ground, instantly piercing the floor of the bottom floor, and then piercing the floor of the 2nd floor, blocking in front of Yifeng. Bang, bang, bang. The other party's water escape ninjutsu didn't even touch the sweat of the Night Maple Shadow doppelganger, and all of them smashed on the swaying thick tree root vine. The ape flying sun upstairs shook for a moment, and quickly stood up. Is there an earthquake? Quote. Instantly, a dark ninja came in, Naruto-sama, the mist-hidden village has come to fight with Lord Hokage on the second floor. Quote. Ape Fairy was furious. How dare they fight in the Hokage building? Quote. It was the Wuyin village who struck first, but what? But Lord Yifeng's wooden escape directly pierced the entire Hokage building. Ape Fairy was so angry that his chest heaved. After fighting, find them to compensate, 10 times compensation. Quote. Yes, Naruto-sama. The second floor of the administration department. Citrus Yakura saw that the fight had started, and it was irreparable, so he had to seal it immediately. Water escape. The art of mist concealment. The mist was almost visible to the naked eye, and it instantly filled the entire second floor. Within the line of sight, he instantly lost his fingers and turned into a vast white. And the fog is like substance, squeezing on the body from all directions, making breathing a little uncomfortable. At the same time that Citrus Yakura used the mist concealment technique, the other 3 shinobi moved. Since he is the murderer who killed the 3 generations of Water Shadow, how can he also teach a lesson to relieve the hatred in his heart? Even if he wants to die here, he can't fall into the reputation of the mist-hidden village. Citrus Yakura sighed. He knew that he couldn't go either. Konoha was not a place to go if he wanted to, and upstairs there was the 3rd generation of Hokage called Dr. Ninja, that was a real god. Under such circumstances, Citrus Yakura also knew that he had to take down the nasty guy in front of him and talk about other things. If it weren't for this guy who didn't know how to be evil and provoke them in the misty hidden village, they wouldn't have acted in disregard of the rules of the mission like this. Don't kill him, Citrus Yakura reminded. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1. Kill all, kill chickens and monkeys, reward, a ninjutsu wind escape wind blade. Option 2. Leave Tachibana Yakura alone to set an example, reward, A-level ninjutsu Mazuden Great Waterfall. Option 3. Take it all, leave your life, show the style of Konoha Omura, reward, Golem Art Basic. Okay, just let you go. Yi Kaide fell in love with the puppet art of option 3 at a glance, and ignored option 1 and option 2, to a ninjutsu which is not very attractive to Yi Kaide now. Instead, it was a puppet technique, and Yifeng felt a little fresh. Just when Yifeng was choosing, a fierce murderous aura suddenly erupted from all directions. The art of water body, plus their respective water ninjutsu. Water spout, water blade chop, water in a row. However, a huge wooden head appeared on the ground where Yifeng was standing, and Yifeng stepped on this wooden man's head and instantly raised it. And all the ninjutsu that originally attacked Yifeng were smashed on the head of the wooden man. Rumble. Cracks appeared on the wooden skull, but they were not broken. Instead, they caught these 3 attackers. Citrus Yakura was slightly stunned, and he had a sense of foreboding in his heart, and quickly jumped back. Originally, a huge tree root drilled out of the place under his feet, and if it weren't for his quick reaction, he might have been entangled. Even so, countless vines of tree roots drilled towards the Citrus Yakura. Yi Feng's shadow avatar successively used the wooden man art and the tree realm birth, and the entire lower 2 floors of the Hokage building were completely turned into a green forest. Since Chakra's consumption was a bit large, the 2 shadow doppelgangers standing at the door, bang, were naturally lifted. Citrus Yakura was sweating profusely and was horrified. Is this guy crazy? Completely disregarding the safety of the Hokage building. Hokage is upstairs. Night Maple. Just as Citrus Yakura thought, Sarutobi is really angry. If he knew this, Ape Fairy would not want him to be the head of the administration department. On the first day in office, he demolished the Hokage building. Nima has never seen anyone like this. The dormitory Shinto and Ryosuke Mito, who were tied up at the entrance of the administrative department, saw the huge wooden man and countless tree roots and vines coming out, and his eyes were about to pop out. Please, can you be a person? Naruto-sama is upstairs, you dare to do this? Bang! Immediately, a brick fell on the head of the sleeping real fight, and the head broke and bleed in an instant. Help! These tied-up relatives screamed. Before he finished speaking, the wooden man stepped out. Swish! Ryosuke Mito, who was closest to him, was directly trampled into mashed meat. Everyone whined in horror, used all their strength, and got out. It's scary. At this time, Hokage and Kushina were relaxing here in the Hokage Rock north of Konoha. Speaking of which, Hokage Rock is the place where Night Maple and Ju Shinai are in love. Coming here, let Yefeng recall the warm time when he chatted with Ju Shinai that evening. Ju Shinai took Yifeng's hand and unconsciously clenched it. Suddenly, Yifeng received the memory after the shadow doppelganger at the mouth of the administrative department was automatically lifted, and he cried and laughed. The first day of work in your own administration department seems to be messed up. Yifeng didn't think about it. This was the first strike of Wuyin Village. This is completely the responsibility of Wuyin Village. In this way, is it possible to deceive the hidden village? Yifeng suddenly felt that he was really a genius. At this moment, Yefeng turned around and stared into the woods behind. Walked out of a person. This black-robed man, the god is mysterious, Nima, it's Uchiha. Just when Yefeng saw Uchiha Madara unfolded his chakra eyes. Illusion, Narakami no Jutsu. Nima. Yifeng did not hesitate to pull Ju Shinai behind him, and use the wood dragon art with all his strength. This is Yifeng's fastest wooden ninjutsu. The wooden dragon, which was 10 times larger than usual, drilled out of the land and pounced on Uchiha Spot, instantly tearing Uchiha Spot to pieces. Bang! It is the art of Shadow Doppelganger. Yefeng breathed a sigh of relief. What he saw just now was the young Uchiha Spot, which frightened Yefeng Kaide. I thought it was Uchiha who used some secret technique to rejuvenate. Yifeng, what's wrong? Ju Shinai asked worriedly. Just for a moment, Ju Shinai did not see Uchiha clearly. Yefeng shook his head and said, it's okay. Quote, I was too nervous just now, and suddenly used chakra with all my strength, and as a result, all shadow doppelgangers were cancelled. Yifeng was also speechless to himself. And in the Hokage building, the citrus Yakura had already been tied up, and the 4 people were sitting in rows, only whimpering and struggling. Suddenly, the night maple in front of them, with a bang, disappeared. They were dumbfounded. This is a shadow doppelganger. We 4 were defeated by a doppelganger. At the same time, countless shadow doppelgangers are communicating with Konoha's shops, coordinating disputes between villagers, and teaching the 7th class. There is also in front of the big snake pill, chatting with the big snake pill, saying that he wants to take back Terumi. Suddenly, it all slammed and was gone. Everyone froze for a moment. Kakashi of the 7th class, Obito and Rin, were laughing, and suddenly saw that the night maple was gone, and his face was ugly, and Rin was even rolling with tears. The teacher has been teaching us a lesson with a shadow avatar. So disrespectful to us. Quote. On the other side, in the medical department, the big snake pill was slightly stunned, and then smiled. It's so interesting, even I didn't see that it was a shadow doppelganger. Quote. Somewhere in the cave, the old man with a giant tube stuck in the backside. Sure enough, the illusion is completely useless, even if it is to use his worries about the emotions of his sweetheart, there is no way at all, it is really the bloodline inheritor between the 1,000-hand pillars, exactly the same. This time, it was just a temptation from Uchiha. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.